We are really sorry about all the delay. There was some issue on my end because of which we couldn't. We had to get some things fixed. Really sorry about this chat. We are trying to get you the player cams and the board as soon as possible. Srinath, we have Nihal, the humble genius, playing against former world champion Vladimir Kramnik today. We have the ever confident Raunak Sadhwani playing against our crowd favorite Anish Giri today. What are your views about the matchups today? Please tell us.
It's going to be super exciting, Soumya. It's going to be super exciting. It's a battle of opposites in some ways. Nihal against Kramnik. Nihal from the latest generation, Kramnik, a classical world champion. And when we talk about flagging, Nihal is probably one of the first names that comes to our mind in the world. And Kramnik is like so anti-flagging. So this is one exciting encounter. Meanwhile, Raunak, who's always super excited and super exciting, and Anish, who is always ice cool. So that's also going to be a match of the opposites. Let's get the board on and have a look at what's going on in the games. The games have just begun, so we'll get the board on soon. Meanwhile, chat, are you still able to hear me? What's up? What are your expectations for this match?
And maybe we can ask the first question of the day for the diamond membership while we get the board on. Who is the highest rated player that Nihal Sarin has won against in a classical match? Chat, can you please answer? What do you think?
Oh, this is a very interesting question. I'm not sure if even I know this one by heart. Even I know this one from the top of my mind because classical games are so hidden these days, so buried. Prachi, meanwhile, in the chat, predicting that Raunak versus Anish will go to Armageddon and Nihal versus Kramnik, 2.5, 1.5. So, those are the expectations for the match today. And those are the predictions from Prachi. Let's see what happens if that prediction comes true. Meanwhile, we are playing a little peekaboo here, chat, kind of turning back the clock. Please bear with us while we figure out technical uh, uh, the technical stuff. It, the first few minutes of the stream today is going to be a bit here and there, so please support us. And once we are through game one, everything should be back on track. Meanwhile, there are four matches up today. One is the Ding Esipenko. Aside from the Indian matches, which has been mentioned, there is the Ding Esipenko match, and there is the matchup between Abdusatro against Pavel Punkrato, the world rapid champion. It would have been amazing if we could have had Vishy Anand against Abdusatro instead of Abdusatro Pavel Punkrato. It's a bit sad, once again, going back a few days, a bit sad that we were unable to get that matchup going. It's painful to think back, but but it's still a positive that we have these Indians battling out, playing against Anish against Ronak, which has reached early middle game at this point, and the material is slightly better for black, but Anish has excellent strategic compensation. Meanwhile, the matchup between Kramnik and Nihal, I think this is going to be super exciting. And here Kramnik has the power of bishops, and Nihal has these knights. He has a little more time than Kramnik. It's going to be challenging for Nihal though. Kramnik has incredible power in positions of his kind, and I think he has got one such position.
Yeah, chat. We are just trying to get the player cameras on the screen and we'll be all set. Just give us a few minutes, please. Thank you so much for having been patient with us so far. I know it's not easy.
Srinath is looking like he's just coming from deep sleep. Really? I wish
Yes, please
I
focus
wish
on
I had
Srinath.
some deep sleep. Yeah, we did do a bit of John Cena earlier in the stream, but now at least you can see us, and we'll get the board, and yeah,
Finally.
and there we have
Finally
it.
have it.
Chat, come on, Soumya OP in the chat. Let's go. Let's go. We finally have it. We finally have the board and the players on camera.
Yeah, and we have Anish's game. Um, what's going on here? Rook e8, Anish is white. Sorry about Srinath being a little.
That's okay. That's totally okay.
I'm gonna fix it.
Rook e8 on the board just now, and yeah. So the position, as I mentioned earlier, white is a pawn down, but this knight on d5 is like fantastically placed, and it prevents black's central pawns from rolling along. The pawns on c7 and d5, it just prevents it from rolling along. So if black moves that knight away from c5 in order to try and get c5 himself, then Anish will place his rook on c6, and it won't be easy for black to get the pawns to c5. Meanwhile, white will have his own plans on the king side. The pawns f4, f5, knight f5, knight d f5, and all these moves. Knight h5 also a possibility, and this is why it's compensation in the position right now. Few more moves have been played. Rook e3 just played by Anish here, threatening to get his pieces on towards black's king. Chat, if you had to choose one, what would you choose? Do you prefer to see the board or do you prefer to see the commentators? Like, if you had to choose only one and you had to absolutely choose, which one would you choose?
So sorry about this.
Because you might
I'm
need
so
to
sorry.
make a choice today.
Very nicely put there. But okay, we have the board, and yeah, rook e3 played on the board. Um, what are your views about this position, Srinath?
Yeah,
I
rook
think
e3, there are at least two threats, Soumya. One is rook can come to c3, other is rook can go to g3 after the white knight from g3 moves away. So, dangerous compensation for sure, and Raunak is certainly the one who is in the back foot here, despite having an extra pawn. He has just played his bishop to d7, but now white can go knight to f5, and then the queen can go to g4. So this is pretty dangerous. The chat is overwhelmingly going on with board, but Priyadarshan Jha has an interesting suggestion: alternate 2 minute slot.
what? Yeah, there seems to.
Priyadarshan Jha has an interesting suggestion.
Sorry, interesting suggestion about what? Maybe we have
Alternate
to.
2 minute slot.
What is that? Ah, for both of us. For
Vote for 2 minutes
for
and
the players
yeah.
and for it's actually a good suggestion. It's a really good suggestion. Chat, we will fix this all these issues by round two, but please bear with us for I mean the match, second match, uh, but the first match is going to be
Yeah.
a slight of it's like watching a magic show. It's hilarious. Okay.
Yeah, so this is the situation in this game, Soumya.
Right.
It's a nice question for White, I think, for Anish. Meanwhile, chat, if again, who are you rooting for in this matchup between Anish against Raunak? Now, I know that all the polls in such questions have been super one-sided, favoring the Indians, but this is almost an all-Indian encounter between Anish and Raunak, and although Anish is not exactly an Indian, he has won the hearts of the Indians. So, what do you think? Who are you rooting for in the matchup between Anish and Raunak? Meanwhile, knight df5 played on the board. The drawback of knight df5 is this allows black to get his knight in, knight to e4. Priyadarshan says obviously Raunak, but Kiran, on the other hand, contradicts with Anish. Sujay says, of course, Ronak. Is the e5 pawn a strength or a weakness? It is a strength right now in this position because it takes away several key defensive squares away from black's pieces, and it controls a lot of space on the king side. Meanwhile, what's going on in the Nihal Kramnik match, Soumya?
Yeah.
Would we be able to bring that on?
Yeah, we can. Just 1 minute. Let's. We can definitely bring it on.
Yeah.
Um,
All right. So, yeah, knight f5 played, and Ronak is really low on time, which is not a good sign, chat. Ronak is really low on time, and he is down to below 3 minutes, which usually doesn't happen. He plays quickly and confidently. There's been a bit of history between Ronak and Anish as well, chat. And by the way, how do you like this screen? This looks awesome to me.
I think this looks the
Full player
best.
cam view. And you must be tired of having observers all the time. So having a break from that also probably will be welcome to you, chat. I don't know about Soumya, but I can speak for myself. Our next chat gives him cat ears. Mrinal Jain asking, can you please fix the watch quality? Yes, Mrinal, really, really soon. Uh, promise that. Can he play f6? F6 could be potentially met with queen g4. Queen g4 is a threat right now. But I'm really surprised at how much Ronak is thinking. This is just not normal for him. And he kind of has to play knight e4, but it's a tough move to make because that leaves the d7 bishop hanging. It leaves the d5 pawn hanging. And it can get pretty dangerous.
Right.
He's taken bishop into f5, which is again super dangerous. Bishop takes f5, knight takes f5. Now the problem is this knight on f5 cannot be dislodged by black. So I think Anish is a big favorite to go 1-0 up in this matchup. A big, big favorite. And Raunak is perilously down on time. He's down to below a minute. Uh, yeah, he's down to just 52 seconds.
Oh my god.
45 seconds right now. 35 seconds. And he's gone rook a d8, which allows queen g4. Queen g4, and the queen on b6 has to protect the knight on c5. So black cannot use that queen for the defense. Black can play something like knight to e6, but in this case, white can just go after black's queen with something like rook b3. I think this is super dangerous for Raunak here, and he's really in big, 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 big trouble. Am I following Julan Goswami's last match as well? No, not really. Uh, I have only so many screens. On one, there is a different chess events running around the clock. Then there's a Federer's retirement match, and Australia India going on. There's just so much going on these days. In fact, there is this going on. Then, of course, the Susha Open in Azerbaijan is going on. And there have been so many exciting matches on the Chess.com Global Championship. Yesterday, there was this matchup between Sarana against Mamadero. So, Mamadero was playing over the board live. And then he came in the evening and he played against. Meanwhile, Queen G4 happened in the game. And Ronak is down to just 15 seconds. He's really, really low on time. He goes G6, Queen G4, G6 on the board. And now Anish moving towards the finish. But regardless of whatever happens, I just don't see how Ronak can wriggle his way out of this one. It looks super, super, super complex. It looks super, super, super lost for black here. Queen g4, g6 on the board. Now, white can simply take on h6. This is one simple way, and which is probably what Anish will do after a bit of think. Knight takes h6 check. The black king has to move, and here Anish will have a finisher. It's just the round one chat. Round two is not on. Round one is going on. Knight and h6 check taken. King g7 played instantly by Raunak. And here there is a crushing move. Knight takes f7. The point being that if black takes king takes f7, then rook f3 check, king g7, and now rook f6 is game over.
Wow. So Nihal's game is also available now. Do you want to stick to this game, Srinath, or should we switch to what Nihal is doing?
Yeah, I think we can stick to this game because I don't expect it to go for much longer.
Right.
I think this game should take like about 2 to 3 minutes. And we are just at the cusp of the finish of game one. Anish basically just has to find his finisher and it will be game over. And then we can, I guess, shift to Nihal's game, which will be at a critical point at that juncture.
Definitely. Yeah.
And he's just taking his time, just being sure about knight takes f7. And then knight takes f7, king takes f7, rook f3 check. And the rook comes to f6 by force. I think this is what he is likely to go for. What do you think? And chat, what do you think? What will White play here? Because there is more than one option for sure which wins the game. So which do you think Anish will go for? All your experience, all your years of watching Anish on stream. Let's see how well you can read Anish. Who in a recent interview was talking about how chess.com is like the greatest platform to ever exist?
Really? Oh God, what
Yeah,
happened there? Sorry. I mean,
recent.
the players are moving, so sometimes the zoom.
Yeah, that happens.
Yeah. Now Anish is
Meanwhile, the
back.
Nihal
Anish is.
Kramnik game is also interestingly poised. Yeah, it's
Yeah, let's have a quick look at what Nihal is doing because he's playing former world champion Kramnik, and I'm really curious to see what is his strategy here. Nihal is black, by the way, so maybe we can flip the board. Uh, no, I think let's
yeah.
not make any stunts. Let's
It's
leave it.
down at the right corner, the right bottom.
No, I think.
Uh,
Sorry,
oops.
sorry. Yeah, that's okay. Fine. I had a
Control
feeling
Z,
that was
Control
going to
Z.
happen, so I was being very careful. Okay. Um.
Is that a side camera of
Yeah, that is.
Anish?
Yeah, his camera went off, so that's why he's got this.
Maybe that's what he's trying to connect back. That's why he's not making a move.
Oh,
But he has
he's.
made some moves. Knight
Oh,
h6, rook f7, and f4. Now queen h4 is checkmate. But here we can see a clear picture of Anish. Is he trying to? What's on his screen? Is he trying to fix his camera or is he playing? Because we can see him typing something.
Oh God, did he lose connection? Oh God, that would be such a disaster. He's gotten up. He's gotten up. No, no.
Yeah, I don't know.
I
Is
don't
he looking at
understand.
us?
Is he very disappointed with the stream quality and just doesn't want to play? What is
But yeah,
happening?
he did make king h2, and I think that was just the lag, Soumya. That was just the
Okay,
stream lag.
right.
He played king h2 and he won, and the camera was ahead of time. The broadcast comes a bit later due to the anti-cheating.
Oh
So he just
yeah.
won the game. He started typing, and uh,
Oh,
now he just got up and went because he has won the game already.
that's a very fair explanation. Uh, we have Nihal Kramnik on the board in
Yeah,
1 minute.
go to
Let's.
the Nihal Kramnik game, where Nihal is the one under a lot of pressure. The bishop's a pretty bishop on d5. The other bishop, dark square bishop, also contributing to the pressure. And the computer dismisses this as equal, but I think there is a lot of pressure on black's position. There is a lot of pressure. And Nihal is also a couple of minutes low on time. He has 2 minutes and 10 seconds. Kramnik has about 4.5 minutes. So that also adds to the pressure. But only yesterday I was thinking about how incredibly fast Nihal can get when he's low on time. There are a lot of skillful people. Actually, there are not many. There are a few skillful people who can really accelerate, and Nihal is probably one of the best at that.
Oh yeah, of course.
So
We all witnessed what he did against Mamedov. I mean, that was crazy.
absolutely,
That was
absolutely,
total beast mode. I mean, we are all too impressed by him currently, and we expect him to handle this time, even though, yes, it is a matter of concern. But it's amazing to see
yeah,
how well Kramnik is also playing. I mean, he's. He's not used to, he doesn't prefer playing online so much, let's just put it that way. But he's like he has so much time on his clock. He's handling it so well. It's great to see.
Yeah, and he's going after this super bishop on d5, knight e7. Strong strategic move. Trying to get that bishop on d5 out.
There we have the
And
clocks on the screen as well now.
such a cute
Setup.
the clocks. Yeah, white has 3 minutes and black has just about a minute. But I think now Nihal's position is relatively safer because with the trade of that light square bishop, we have I think taken out one of black's major pieces, white's major pieces. Rook takes d8, rook takes d8. Nihal playing from Spain, and he had to find a hotel and check in today. And as soon as this match ends, he has to play in an over the board rapid tournament. So this is Nihal's schedule today. He's playing this match right now, and this is 1 p.m. in Spain right now. And at 4:30, he has an over the board rapid event that he has to play in the Spanish team championship. It's tough being a chess player these days, you know. It's not like it has become like cricket in the sense that the schedule has become super packed for the players, and therefore it has become super packed for everyone, the commentators, the coaches, the parents, the travel agents, etc. Matthew John says, but recently Nihal is consuming too much time, both in classical last tourney and nowadays. Are you following Nihal's matches only from this year, Matthew? That's like his signature. That's like saying Rahul Dravid is taking too many balls these days.
But do you think in the long run, I mean, somewhere like this needs to be fixed, right? Even though he's managing with his time, he's been managing it well. Uh, don't you think, like, what would you suggest are the ways to fix a time pressure problem? Because it's a serious problem and a lot of players face it.
So, first question, yes, absolutely right. It is something that has to be fixed, I think, long term. Not a good thing to continue on. And Nihal is also aware of this for several years. And this year, he made a very conscious push towards playing faster in all the tournaments. And I was quite surprised to see him having more time than his opponents in the Olympiad in a lot of games. And I never thought I would see such a day, but it did happen. And regarding the solution on how to fix, I think that is not at all easy for the person in question to change years of trained behavior. But a few things is to create some kind of an artificial pressure from early on, because people generally they take a lot of time early on because they are just not able to uh, act to make the decision. So instead of letting the clock do that pressure for you when you have like less than 5 seconds, you have to let it's an idea to create an artificial pressure when you're down to like 30 minutes or 20 minutes to already start accelerating to get into that rapid mode, the blitz mode. And that's one way. Second is to improve your opening preparation. So, you play more moves faster early in the opening, and you have less moves to think about later. So, I think this is also one way of doing it.
Right. And yeah, Kramnik has entered into a bishop and queen versus knight versus queen position. Usually, this combination favors the side with the knight and the queen, because queen and knight are supposed to work better in tandem with each other than queen and bishop. But maybe Maybe here white is fine, right? Because his king is very safe. The knight doesn't have very good squares to jump to. That is the problem. The knight doesn't have an outpost or something very juicy near the king that he can just grab onto, right? And white center pawns are so
Yeah,
dangerous.
white is okay, but I think black is certainly the one who's pushing here
Oh, you think so?
because the knight gets to c5, and these pawns are a bit brittle, the pawns on e5 and f5. It's not so easy to advance them. Um, and they can be attacked with something like knight d3. So this queen g2 is a clever move because he, Kramnik tries to trade that queen off, and if Nihal rejects it like he did in the game, then Kramnik has queen a8 check and queen into a7, creating counterplay and taking out a future outside passed pawn. Kramnik goes for e6, takes, and but look at those knights: queen on d3, knight on e4, and this pawn is there on e6, but it can be taken by the black king. So the black king is just too close to that pawn. With bishop e5, Kramnik creates threats of getting the queen onto f7, so queen f3 check and queen f7, but there is no check on the f file. Nihal just calmly plays g5. The pawn is super safe now, and he can collect the e6 pawn at his will. Queen h3 already not a good sign from Kramnik because black has the option to go into the endgame, knight versus bishop endgame. He goes for it. He takes the pawn, but Kramnik is probably hoping that he can stop the b pawn with either the king or the bishop and capture the other pawn. There are just too few pawns to try and play for a win here, and I think this is what Kramnik is hoping for. And yeah, he goes king d5, bishop d8, keeping an eye on the g5 pawn, making sure that it's not easy for black to advance any of his pawns. The a5 pawn is controlled, so he cannot create a passer there, and the g5 pawn is also controlled. So I think in an OTB game, this will be a comfortable draw for Kramnik. The only thing is he has to be able to play against the nerves in this short time control. And this is going to be one of the most challenging aspects for Kramnik in this matchup and in the global championship in general.
But don't you think white can simply take knight, black can simply take knight c3, knight a2? He didn't go for that. He goes for knight d2, king e3, bishop a5. Interesting.
Right. Right now they are playing so fast, and
Kramnik is not there on the camera as well. I think he moved a bit.
yeah, no, it's just the video is faster than the broadcast, but I'm expecting based on the reactions that the game ended in a draw. What do you think?
You think
If you had to just
Kramnik is
guess.
already gone. Right. And the game, because we get it with a delay because of the anti-cheating measures in place. Right.
Yep.
Yeah, this is a draw.
Yeah.
So white must have played bishop to e7 here and offered a draw. Right.
Yeah.
There we have it on the board. Well
And
fought.
that was game one, ladies and gentlemen. The matchup between Anish and Raunak. Anish is leading by 1.10. And the match between Nihal and Kramnik, it's at half at the end of game one. 3 more games to go, and there will be a bit of a break right now before we go into the next match.
Do stay with us. We will be back shortly. Hello,
Welcome
hello.
back.
Welcome back, everyone. We are so happy to be back. Can't wait to talk to you guys again. And we hope that this second part of our stream is going to be a fantastic streaming experience for all of you. And we also have a lot of fun watching the games without any breaks, without any hiccups on the way. Big shout out to our producer Niranjan who has come to our rescue before. I think a lot of credit goes to him, and especially after handling a little bit of the stream today, I have realized how difficult it is. So, huge shout out to Niranjan for doing such a great.
All right, and we are back with the games. The game between Raunak and Anish. The second match going on. Anish leading with 1-0. So Raunak has to try and strike back here. And this is the position after the early middle game. It's about equal now, but Raunak will try and do his best. Meanwhile, the match between Nihal and Kramnik has also begun. It was a Sicilian defense. Kramnik played the Sicilian defense. And let's take it from the beginning. We'll just catch up with all the action that has happened. So it feels like nothing has been missed out. And we are up to date with everything. So it started with e4, c5, knight f3, d6, and Nihal went bishop b5 check. Kramnik replying with bishop d7, the most classical move, which is the most solid equalizer for black. And Nihal went c4 here. This is a relatively new move. For many years, people used to take bishop takes d7, but in more recent times, people have been experimenting with a4, c4, and similar things. c4 played, knight f6, knight c3, g6, and now after d4, c takes d4, knight takes d4, we have this typical Maroczy-bind situation where the light square bishops are traded. So bishop g7, short castle, white takes on d7, black takes knight bd7, and now b3. Queen a5, bishop b2, and it's time for black to set up his pawn structure now. So he goes a6, controlling the b5 square, potentially preparing for a future b5 break, but mainly controlling the b5 square. Rook e1, nice developing move. e6, controlling the d5 square, controlling the center. White goes queen e2. Black starts bringing his rooks into the game. Rooks on c8, the other rook on e8, mirroring white's rooks. So the queen, which feels uncomfortable under the glare of that rook, just sidesteps queen d2, h5, and now h3. This is the present situation we have in Nihal's game. And this looks a bit better for white, no?
Yeah, I mean, actually, in this Morixiband setup, I remember this light squared bishop used to be a big problem for white, and usually, black would try to get a knight versus light squared bishop end game, and even with the rooks on, this would consider to be favorable for black. So without the light squared bishops, I think it's a slightly easier position for white to play because his bad bishop is gone away while he retains the pluses of a Morixiband structure that is control over the center and more space. है ना? What do you think,
Yes,
Srinath?
absolutely. Absolutely well explained there, Soumya. And you're completely right. It does give a bit more space for white, and in general, I think it is a bit more comfortable. So this is the position right now in the Nihal Kramnik game, which is interestingly poised. And let's have a look at the other game between Raunak and Anish, which started earlier, and therefore it is in a more advanced state. And so far, it is Anish who's been blazing away. And Anish recently played in he played in the Generations Cup, one of the Champion Chess Tour events, where he won the last round against Arjun Erigaisi. And it was quite disappointing that despite doing that, he was still not able
He
to
was
qualify to
very
the
upset
knockouts.
at not having qualified despite winning with black against Arjun.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think everyone is fully updated on Anish Giri's Twitter. They're all Anish Giri Twitter fans here.
And
Um,
then he went and he was like, how the how chess.com is like the greatest website ever. And hopefully he has better luck out here. Uh, I mean, so far it seems to be going that way, Anish's way.
this is definitely a tough moment for Indian fans on our channel because Ronak is playing against Anish. I mean, we actually support both of them, so it's hard to choose sides. Even though, as chess.com viewers and commentators, we are rooting for Ronak, but Anish is also our own. ऐसा लगता नहीं है कि वो दूसरे देश के हैं, हम हमारे ही लगते हैं. तो this is a very interesting matchup actually against both of them, and also tough for the fans to watch. By the way, that brings us to our second question of the day for the Diamond membership. Who is Ronak's favorite cricketer, guys? अगर आप हमारी streams follow कर रहे हो, then you must be knowing the answer to this. This is we actually discussed a lot about how Ronak is a huge fan of cricket and he gets a lot of his motivation from the game. So that's why we thought to ask you this question. Take your guesses. Let us know what you think.
Yeah. Do get that diamond membership going, chat. As I mentioned in the previous Title Tuesday stream, the more active you are in chat, the better chances of a diamond membership. No nepotism involved there, but it's just that the brain recognizes what it sees more often, much faster. So do make your attendance in the chat. Do mark your presence and try and guess the correct answer out there for the diamond membership, a chess player's best friend. Math Magic. Hey, you guys, been a happy follow. Thank you, Math Magic. And yeah, how does White try and generate some counterplay here? Raunak has been he qualified to the round of 32 very convincingly, just crushed his way out here. But in recent times, he has been, I think, a bit off color. He hasn't been at his best shape the way he used to be. And yeah, there we have Raunak's camera as well. Raunak playing from his home. But I think recently he was in Chennai. I saw a Twitter post by one of India's legendary coaches, R.B. Ramesh, where Raunak was attending a session and they were all watching Prag's games. Raunak, Arvind, Karthikeyan, Arjun.
That's really nice. This having this chess culture in your city and having people to practice with, to share your views with, exchange ideas with, makes a huge difference in the understanding of chess, in the development of a player, I would say. In fact, I was discussing this with a friend of mine who happens to be a carom player. And she told me she was facing the same problem after moving cities, that now suddenly she did not have a group to practice with. And it took her many years actually to find a new group in the new city. And this is a challenge a lot of players who are from, one of players from their hometowns face, that they don't have anyone to practice with, anyone to discuss ideas with. So Chennai people ki to matlab, it's the hub of chess. It's the mecca of chess as they call it. So I think they have a geographical advantage over other players when it comes to sharing ideas.
Like, say, from someone from Nashik, for example.
Ah, people from Nashik need to invite others to their home and make them feel comfortable. Only then do they have a chance to have a practice partner. The game
Yeah,
has progressed quite a bit. Um, we have a lot of moves on the board now. Queen
or
c7, rook a d8, and what do you think of this position, Srinath?
I think it's still completely better for black, Soumya. There are these central pawns, dangerous and
Right.
burgeoning. Then this bishop on c6 is, I think, one of the key differences between black and white. White does not have this light square bishop, and this bishop on c6 is very strong, unchallenged on this diagonal, open diagonal. So black has all the initiative. He goes knight f4, attacking the queen and the pawn on g2, forcing bishop into f4, which will allow black's rooks into the game. This knight on g5 is menacing for the moment, but it can be evicted with h6 at any key moment. And this pawn on f4 can also quickly go to f3. For instance, if white plays something like knight e6, f3 is already a powerful intermezzo for black, which can be considered. So this is, I think, big advantage for black. Meanwhile, someone in the chat, Venkatraman, asking when will the diamond membership be announced?
Yeah, actually, I see. We were talking about a geographical advantage for chess players, Chennai being the one, and the same way, Mumbai definitely is a geographical advantage for cricketers, and Rohit Sharma, of course, from Bombay, and Ronak's favorite cricketer. Chat, everybody's gotten it right. So I'm just going to pick out randomly because literally everyone got it right. Everybody. Only Mrinal Jain said Virat Kohli, बट बाकी सबको पता है कि रोहित शर्मा रौनक के फेवरेट क्रिकेटर है. सो आई विल पिक आउट टू नेम्स. चैतन्य साई, जो मैंने पहली बार उनका चैट देखा है हमारे चैनल पे, तो वेलकम. Probably you're a silent listener like a lot of others, but thank you for your answer. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It is Rohit Sharma. And the second one would be Venkatraman Satyamurthy, who reminded me to give out the diamond membership. Congratulations, both of you. You have won yourself a diamond membership. Please contact Rakesh and claim your prizes.
Yes, Rakesh at chess.com is that magic email ID which solves all your chess problems. So do write to that and claim your diamond membership. Uh, Bishop f6 played. Back to the game. Bishop f6 has just been played. Knight to f3, and now I think Black can even consider taking on f3. But he starts with king h8. Black's plan is quite simple: attack the g2 point. This is the vulnerable point. And looking at the position, Soumya, it feels very tough for White to be able to fight back from this one.
Right.
Anish is playing in the chess.com Global Championship right now, but he's also playing in the Fisher Random World Championship qualifier, in which he has reached the semi-final stage. And I think that is also the match is either today or tomorrow. September 24 is one qualifier, semi-finals, and September 25 is the other one. So crazy schedule, Soumya. People are playing like 2 tournaments per day right now.
That's
Nihal is
true.
playing 2 tournaments per day. Anish, Abdusaturu.
I mean, Arjun as well. Arjun is also playing in an online tournament right now, and then he will play the CGC round 2 against Temur Rajabov whenever they both have time, because Raja is also playing in Susha, and it's just so hard to get these players come and play matches they have qualified for.
I know, right? The calendar is just unbelievably packed. And
Rohit Singh in the
Satya is
chat asked,
asking,
right.
yeah, were you going for the same question?
No, I was going for the question above that one. So Rohit Singh asks, who is the coach of Ronak? And this was actually going to be my next question for Diamond membership. So maybe we can ask it right now, and chat can list out their answers. Um, Ronak right now is studying in Waka. He's a member of Waka, I believe. But name any of the coaches Ronak has trained with before he joined Waka.
I think that's going to be not so difficult for chat, but chat, we will give the next diamond membership giveaway after we reach 100 likes. We are at 81 right now, so do make it over 100, and so that more people can join in and see that the stream is happening seamlessly now, not like how it was when they left initially. And subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Let's make
Definitely.
it.
And Srinath, I noticed that chess.com has India has uploaded all these fun clips of our streams. They're really fun. I actually went through all of them last night. There was this stream about Arjun, like there was this clip of Arjun discussing his thoughts about the game, his strategy, his match strategy, Ronak analyzing his game in detail, Nihal's win in the first round. Then there were all these fun clips of you asking NEET questions and lamenting about NEET schedule. And there was this, yeah, there are a lot of nice clips. Do check them out, chat, when you have time. They're a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, NEET has a good connect with our chat and audience. I think almost
Acha.
half of them are studying for some competitive exam, and NEET has the
Acha.
highest turnout in our chat.
Oh, interesting. 91 on
which
the poll.
which does give the existential question to me, Soumya. Like sometimes I wonder if I'm doing the Indian Medical Association a disservice. What I'm doing to the future doctors, and some students in particular who are almost always on streams whenever I look, or almost always on the chat whenever I look, and it really gives me this dilemma: chess or medicine for one future student.
By the way, Ronak's game, Ronak's position looks really miserable right now with the pawn on g2 being attacked, with bishop on c6 really, really strong. Actually, black can bring his rook to g8 the next move and pile up on the g5. White will have to defend with f3, but then black has something like bishop h4 coming in, the knight on e1 being attacked, and all of his pieces are going to just bulldoze. Queen after f3, you also have queen g3 coming in, queen h2, all of these moves. So I think Anish is going to get this game as well, and Ronak will have to fight back in the next two rounds and try to equalize and force an Armageddon. Maybe we can move on to Nihal's game, Sri, and have a look at how Nihal is doing against the former world champion Vladimir Kramnik.
No prizes for guessing Nihal's time situation. Soumya, he has like what, 2 minutes remaining. Kramnik has 7 minutes remaining, and I think Kramnik would have been keenly aware of Nihal's this playing style and would have been trying to uh, take advantage of that. Secondly, I think Black's position is also totally fine here.
Right. Of course, Kramnik being fine is no surprise there. But as black, what are the plans that you think black can go for? There is the f4 square, which looks really juicy for black's knight on e6. Black can also try to make his bishop look a little more active by bishop h6. Yeah, he has played that. So on g7, it wasn't doing much. On h6, is doing a little more than earlier. earlier. He's controlling important squares like c1. Now rook cannot come to c1 and take the open file. Another point is that maybe we can transfer the queen to e7 and f6 at some point and try to create something.
Right, right, absolutely. A lot of things going Black's way, and I think once again, Kramnik is the one in the driver's seat in this game. Meanwhile, I think we should just quickly move back to the Raunak's game because it is on the verge of getting over. It is in the final stages. Anish has just played his queen to h6, and we are just going to witness a final blow. Raunak down to less than a minute. He's just not happy with how things have turned out. Oh yeah, Alankar Kumar points out in the chat, Soumya, what the highest rated player that Nihal has beaten. He's asking about the diamond membership for that.
Oh, definitely. But that time I was a little busy handling the OBS, so the answer is ready, but I haven't seen who in the chat got it right. So in during the break, we'll announce the winners for that. I have to scroll up and check all the answers for that question. So do stick with us and we'll announce the winner for that question during the break.
Absolutely. Meanwhile, h4 just played by Raunak. Soumya, how do you finish here as black?
Wow, I'm just so tempted by a lot of moves here. I was thinking of bishop h4, and why doesn't something like knight c4 work? He's played queen d1. Oh my god, can we? Yeah, he's just
He
taken
just
on
simply
e2,
took.
and now knight g2. What is he following it up with? He's just
Bishop
many
g5.
pawns up. He's many pawns up, right? And there is a mating attack. King g1 will be played, of course, but then you play queen h3 and rook g8.
Maybe bishop g3 is better. Yeah.
Bishop g3. Wow, bishop g3 is very good. It's fantastic.
Yeah, and he has played it. He has played it, and Ronak has resigned. So that is that game. Anish is up by 2-0, and Ronak has to win 2 games on demand. This is not going to be easy for Ronak, but the match is still alive.
Did you see Ronak's reaction? He looked really angry with himself there.
Yeah, it's very surprising. It has just been not Ronak's best day. Somehow he has not turned up today. And he's taking too long. The game is lacking something, some kind of a fire. Raunak usually comes with that flame, He's like Charmander from Pokemon. And that flame hasn't been burning brightly today. And Anish is probably like a water Pokemon, like Squirtle. And he is just running around and having fun.
Yeah, but he still got 2 more games. So if he can win this game, for example, it will be a lot of pressure on Anish. So, I mean, he doesn't have any other choice but to win this game. I mean, Ronak, even a draw would mean that he's out of the tournament. So he has to go all out. He has to be more aggressive and try to put pressure on Anish from the first move. I would say that his strategy should be to play for the initiative. Doesn't matter whether it's sound or not, to just go for an attack or an initiative position, because that would put a lot of pressure on Anish.
Right. And meanwhile, back to Nihal's game, Soumya. I think we are at a critical juncture. Nihal has just about 40 seconds. Kramnik has 4 minutes. He has a super queen on e4, quite centralized. Pawn on e5. Do you see any quick way Kramnik can set up some initiative, a dangerous attack against Nihal's king? Rook into e6 is a threat, by the way. White has just taken rook into d6. And Prachi, meanwhile, is asking about the membership question for Raunak's coach.
Yeah, I have a question for you, Srinath. Actually, the chat, a lot of people in the chat said you have been Ronak's coach. I did not know about this. Have you also coached Ronak, Srinath?
Yeah, we had a few sessions in sometime in 2020. So the chat is right on that.
Oh,
He
nice. You have actually coached everyone, all the Indians who are playing in any online tournament right now. I can't think of a
That's
single person you haven't coached, Srinath.
Prague.
Prague. Right.
Prague and Gukesh are yeah, I haven't coached them at all. Prague and Gukesh.
Prague and Gukesh.
And
It's a better question to ask. Whom has Srinath not coached rather than whom has Srinath coached? You have literally been the coach of all these prodigies, and all of them are doing so well right now. So well done, chat. You got a lot of you got it right. As far as yeah, everyone who said Srinath, you're right. Everyone who said Swapnil, yes, absolutely right. And Anand, yes, Anand sir is Ronak's coach right now as part of Waka. But that was my question. Before he joined Waka, who were the trainers that he trained with? He actually trained a lot with Farooq Amanatov sir, who is from Tajikistan. And actually, we attended a lot of camps together because I also used to train under him. And me, Ronak, Abhimanyu, Harshit, Isha, all of us had this group, and we used to have group camps in Pune. So I've literally seen him grow up like this, like 11 years to 15. I have literally seen his height increase and his strength increase at the same time.
yeah, I wish I could say the same about Nihal. But I have certainly watched his strength increase over the years.
Me comment. Let's 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 focus on the diamond memberships that are to be given out. I'll definitely give one to Aditya Done for saying Swapnil, because very few people knew this. He was actually Ronak's first coach, and under him, Ronak became a grandmaster. And of course, everyone who said Srinath also gets a huge thumbs up. Um, since today we are picking out winners at random, I'm giving it to Sudhanshu Pandey, whom I'm seeing in the chat for the first time. So, congratulations, Sudhanshu and Aditya. Very well done. And please contact Rakesh for your chess.com diamond membership.
Meanwhile, the game is heating up, Soumya. Kramnik, after a long thing, played rook c2 and queen e2. Nihal has taken rook into e6, but he's under a lot of pressure. Rook e8 check played by Nihal. Bishop f8, just stopping it. Bishop d4?
Oh, queen
or
e3.
just queen e3?
But queen e3 though gives up the piece, no? Queen into e3, pawn e3, rook b2.
Yeah, but white was already a piece up, so Nihal doesn't mind that. And now he takes the e5 pawn, threatens knight d7. Kramnik goes king g7. And now I think Nihal should try and attack the f7 pawn. He's so perilously low on time, though.
But I don't understand. We should definitely go back at that moment later, because I thought he could have saved the piece with bishop d4. But let's focus on what's happening in the game right now. We'll go check it during the break.
And what is happening in the game, Soumya, is that Kramnik is potentially winning the b4 pawn. Black is definitely the one trying here. White is the one defending. So Nihal on the back foot. And you can clearly see the difference in class. There's just so much difference in class between, for example, Kramnik and Nihal's previous round opponent, who was also incredibly strong, a 2600 player, former 2700, Rock Mamedo, one of the best fast players in the world. But Kramnik is just on a different level. He's just outplaying Nihal, and so far he's been on the better side of this match.
But the good news for Nihal here is that Kramnik also has only 22 seconds left, and 22 seconds for Kramnik versus 8 for Nihal is not the same. Nihal is used to these time scrambles. Kramnik is not. That is a very big difference there. So let's see.
And he has offered a draw. I think he has made a draw with this.
Who has offered
Kramnik
a draw?
Nihal offered a draw, and Kramnik declined the draw offer, although I'm not sure if he was aware of it, because people have to find the
Right,
draw button, the resign button, and when
right.
they're playing.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think they'll just repeat moves now because this is just dead draw. And now Kramnik offered a draw, which Nihal declined. Of course, not because Nihal wants to flag, because there is a 2 second increment here. But I think they're just playing so fast, and now they will repeat. They'll just repeat the moves.
If you miss the moment, you basically decline the draw. Yeah, there we have it. A draw, a fair result, but there were a lot of chances for both the sides in this game. Like Queen on E2 looked ferocious. Kramnik clearly disappointed. Did you see his expression when the game got over? He was shaking his head and he was disappointed. He felt that he let go of a chance there.
Yeah, I didn't catch his expression, but he certainly was in with a chance there. And with strong players, they put so much pressure on you that you get the feeling that you might not get another chance. I think that's a big difference on why that pressure is created. Quite often, you feel like oh my god, I missed this chance and I might not get another chance. And when you feel that you won't get another chance, I think that adds so much pressure on you. It's the scarcity. And getting back to this position, Soumya, here bishop d4 wouldn't have worked because of rook c1 check and queen f1. So
Right.
this would have actually been, we both, I think, shouted out bishop d4 in chorus. And Nihal was under a lot of pressure at this point with just 11 seconds. But these are the little things, the little moments. And Nihal played queen e3 here, which was accurate, a much better defensive move, and making sure that he didn't lose the game on the spot. Someone else could very well have played
Definitely.
bishop
Someone
d4 and
else,
lost.
one of those people is right here. I mean, I was so tempted to play bishop d4 and save my piece and retain my advantage, and then would have gotten checkmated in two moves and just shaking my head. But yeah,
Greedy
Nihal's
Soumya.
very, very bright and alert to Black's possibilities. Uh, and do you think Black had some chance in the end game? Why is it that Kramnik felt that he missed a chance? Maybe
Well, at
here.
this point, it certainly felt like Black had chances because Black is coming and taking these weak a3 pawn, e3 pawn. But it was not so easy. Maybe instead of rook b3, which Kramnik played, it was better to play rook a2, because rook b3, what it did was it allowed the white king up. It gave that one extra tempo. And rook a2 would have put white in a fix because he can't move his knight. The g3 pawn is hanging. He can't move his rook because the e5 knight is hanging. And this would have given black one extra tempo. He just takes rook into a3, and then the b4 pawn and the e3 pawn would hang at once. So I think this was one of the moments. In the game, black played rook b3, which was a massive inaccuracy. And I would go as far as to say that this was a mistake. This allowed black to place king to f2, and now after rook into a3, both e3 and g3 are defended. So white only had to defend the b4 pawn, which he was able to do with knight c6, and the rook protected the knight on c8, on c6 with from c8. So I think this was one of the game-changing moments. And here I already feel Kramnik started playing very inaccurately. Less than a minute. Bishop d6 was a good move, but rook b3 was not a good move. And after rook into e3, knight c6, here you see him going rook a6 first instead of going rook to c3. And then when white played rook c8, then he comes back rook a2 check and rook c2. So this allowed white to just easily play knight a7 and go into this drawn 3 versus 3 endgame. So this was the moment when Nihal caught up with Kramnik.
Yeah, very subtle point there, and actually, it's of course, as you explained, due to the time being so less. Both the players were under a time pressure here, and Abhinav Gupta points out that it seems like Kramnik sir is practicing online chess. He's playing moves in good speed. That's very true. I also had the same feeling while watching him handle his time pressure in this game. Even though he didn't play the most accurate moves like we saw just now, he was able to handle the time pressure because 22 seconds against Nihal, as we were discussing, it's not much.
Right. But I'm not really sure if it's because of the online chess, Soumya, because fundamentally people like Kramnik, they have such an excellent feel. They have such good understanding that they can just get into the heart of the position in few seconds, most of the positions. Their range is just amazing. Their versatility is so good. And if you see the pattern of the match, you see Kramnik always having more time on the clock, more lead. And this is because he can just play, the moves just flow to him. And towards the end of time trouble, then Nihal catching up because he has more experience in the scrambles. He has better experience in playing with this less time. Playing these safe moves with less time, making these the little differences and him catching up. So far, this has been the pattern of the match. And I'm not completely surprised because I would say this is just normal for people like Anand, Kramnik, Ivanchuk. Uh, they have just been playing chess for so many years. They are so into it. They have worked on it so much that it is pretty much second nature by now. And most of the positions that they get, they can just play by the feel, which is also why they are so incredibly good despite their age. Because when you get older, people start making calculation mistakes, complex calculations, but their understanding, their feel, that remains intact. That doesn't get eroded, even when you haven't been playing for such a long time. So they retain that strength, and calculation is more important when people have more time. In a classical game where you do need to spend that time and you do need to keep that energy for longer. So in classical chess, it can be a bit more challenging, but in rapid and blitz, it just gives them that advantage that they're able to play quickly, and there's no calculation mistakes to mess up.
It's a very interesting insight because I would think that if you're out of practice, then rapid and blitz would be tougher for you compared to classical, where you get a lot of time to think. So even though you haven't been in touch with chess, it comes back to you slowly and gradually. But you're saying that the intuition itself is so well developed that they don't need to revise anything or practice anything, and they are basically playing chess based on the intuition and the feel of the position that they have developed throughout the years.
Absolutely. And we have the start of the game 3, Soumya. Raunak starts with this Perth Modern, which Magnus has been playing against all these little kids in recent times, Arjun Prag. And Raunak starting with G6, D6, A6. 3 pawn moves, several files apart. It's almost like mathematics. He started with D6. He moved a pawn 3 files apart. And to keep that ratio, he moved. Okay, I'm wrong. 2 files apart. Oh, yeah, I'm right. It is 2 files apart. He started with the left and now he started with the right. But unfortunately, chess has only 8 files, so he's not going to be able to keep up that ratio.
It's a good opening choice, very practical opening choice by Ronak in a must-win game because he just goes for a setup, not fixing his pawn structure, keeping it very fluid, keeping it fluid where he wants to place his pieces. This is the modern setup, but Anish has, of course, committed the pawn to c4 now. So now it can even transpose to a King's Indian. Where A6, a move like A6 is usually not very useful, but sometimes it can help you give a break like B5, with a pawn sacrifice and some initiative. These are some ideas. Bishop G4, interesting because sometimes black also gives up the bishop for the knight. And in exchange, let's say right now he's going for the D4 square with his knight. So he'll probably take on F3 and plonk his knight on D4 once white pushes d5. That is definitely an option that black has, and a pretty good one. Good choice by Ronak to go for something that's you know, theoretically unsound, as they would put it, but very fluid and flexible, keeping his chances alive.
Absolutely. And Ronak has been a Kings Indian player from his childhood. So it's not something exactly new for him. Anish, on the other hand, he's not playing from his home. So I'm just wondering where he could possibly be. He's playing all these online tournaments, but he's not at his home. So where is he? This is not his home, right?
Which one? Anish.
Yeah,
Yeah, it doesn't look like, but we don't know how many homes he has, no? So
that is true. That is true. And we also see the Optiver logo out there, not making any connections, but we don't know how many homes or chessable repertoires he has.
oh, he has got knight e7, so he wants to preserve the bishop and c5 on the board. Anish is handling it very logically, expanding on the queen side. F5 is something that comes to mind here, chat, but problem क्या है कि आप F5 खेल दोगे तो E6 square weak हो जाएगा, इसलिए उन्होंने पहले F3 का knight ले लिया. But even now F5, EF5 and a move like GF5 would run into bishop H5. So he's played bishop H6. Okay, then he first played bishop G7. Yeah, this was a problem because अभी white के पास pair of bishops आ गए and then the black king भी center पे था and it just doesn't feel right. There are so many weaknesses around black's king, and what does he have in return? Nothing much. So that's the reason you don't go for this break right now. But bishop h6, very unusual decision by Ronak, because he already played a move with bishop g7. Usually, if you get bishop h6 directly, people are very tempted to play it. But having wasted one move already, you're black, you're already half a move down from the opening itself. So, what do you think of this move, Srinath? Because, for example, let's say white takes on h6, black takes on h6 with his knight, and white plays queen d2. Where does the knight go? It has to go back to g8.
Right. Yeah, it does have to go back to G8, Soumya. And although Black has managed to trade one of his bad bishops in this opening, the remaining knights are also not that active. And White does have a lot of space. So I think White still has a pretty nice position.
Chad is very updated with Anish's geographical situation. Chad is saying it's his home only, but a different room. Very nice, Chad. बहुत ही impressed है हम आपकी research से. Thank you so much. और Kapil Chaudhary has a chess question, but before we answer that, I want to get to the diamond membership question that we asked in the beginning of the stream. Who is the highest rated player Nihal Sarin has defeated? The answer is quite obvious. The answer is quite obvious, guys.
Is
What
it though?
are your guesses, Srinath?
I don't remember. I mean, Nihal's wins aren't the first things to come to my mind when I think of him. And secondly, I think it has happened quite recently. He won quite a lot of games recently. So, especially in the Olympiad and stuff. I'm thinking it could be one of those games, but he won quite a few games, so I just don't remember.
So you're counting only
Classical
classical
wins.
games, is it? I was counting all his games.
Oh, I thought it was classical.
No, I was
All his
counting.
games, then it's easy. Yeah, then I know.
I was
Then I
counting
know.
all his wins because, especially with Nihal, I feel he has his strengths. He's a very strong player in classical chess, but he's also extremely strong in online chess, in bullet chess. He's probably in, like, I mean, I'm sure he's in contention to be world number one when it comes to bullet. right?
Right,
So I don't
right,
want to
absolutely.
disregard his achievements in that time control. So my the answer I had in mind was Magnus Carlsen, of course, because he's defeated Carlsen in an online game, and which is an
Yeah,
incredible achievement. The only issue with giving out a diamond membership for this question is I am not able to go back to the chat right now. So we will write it in the comments after the stream. Please do check the comment section after the stream and you will have your winners right there. It could be you. So don't forget to come back to the stream when we are done.
right. Meanwhile, I don't know what happened in the Kramnik Nihal game. The game started and then it got aborted. So maybe Kramnik was just uh, not out there. He was just not online. And I'm not exactly sure what is happening there. But the Nihal Kramnik game set to have begin in just about a few seconds. Meanwhile, what is your impression of this position, Soumya?
Uh, First hand, it looks very much playable, but then the thing is that what does White have to complain about his position? You know, he is happily rolling over on the queen side, and I think it's the sort of position which Anish enjoys as well. So I'm just wondering if Black can manage to put any pressure. What could be his plans here, potential plans for Black? Let's say we need to develop a knight on g8, for example. We need to bring it into the game someday. Um, yeah, knight h6 is a move. A move like
Yeah, but that's
f5
kind of
here.
where it came from.
Exactly, but then it was unsupported and we couldn't keep it there. So Ronak has gone for f5. Uh, it's it was a move that came to my mind as well. The problem with it is that after white takes ef, you can't take gf5 because of queen g5, and you really miss your black squared bishop so much in that moment. You know, you wish it was alive to guard the g5 square and your king on g7, but no, alas, you have already exchanged it. So you have to make do with a move like knight f5, which is fine. You get the d4 square, but then you also give up the e4 square for white's knight, and he's actually going to play knight e4 and then knight g5 and knight e6 as well. And that is a matter of concern, no?
Absolutely. But in return, Black has got the d4 square for his knight, and from there he will probably be hoping that he can control the e6 square. So Anish, in fact, went for bishop e4 and knight d4 played. Probably Anish wants to play f4, undermine the d4 square, and this g6 is also a weak point. Now we have seen Arjun being in these situations quite often, Soumya, where with the white pieces he needs to make a draw, and he lost more than once. And yesterday in his match against Lee Kwang, that happened in the rapid as well. But in the blitz, he started playing as if it doesn't matter, just as if it's a normal game, and in fact went on to defeat Lee Kwang in the tiebreak game. He just went for the mate, and Anish should probably follow a similar strategy here. He has a lot of experience on both sides on having to uh, defend from a lead and also having to win on demand from being behind. And in this case, I think Anish can just go for the initiative, just even something like f4 here.
Right now, f4 after g5 or before g5?
Uh, Before g5, it was quite strong. I was also considering it after g5 to sacrifice an exchange, but probably it's just uncalled for. And the computer loves this move bishop b1 here. It's the top choice of Stockfish, which is super strong actually.
It's
Opening up this
beautiful.
diagonal.
It's a beautiful move. You know, backward moves are very hard to spot in chess, but if you do spot it, and I think Anish can very well spot it, he is great at positional chess. He's great at finding weak spots. He's just great at chess in general. So bishop b1 followed by queen d3 would be a beautiful battery to align in this moment.
Anish didn't play it. He played as knight to e2, which is also, I think, pretty human and also keeping white's advantage intact.
Makes a lot of sense because black's best placed piece was his knight on d4, and white simply exchanged it and asked black what was he doing next.
Absolutely. Black replies with queen f6. And as white, I really want to try and get in f4 and start going after black's king, opening lines against black's king, essentially.
It's there is a point here, by the way, that white's queenside pawns are quite static now. I mean, if white actually push? Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Can white actually push c6 at some point, or does he want to take cd6 and open the c5 for his rook?
Yeah, I think he can do either of those things.
I had a position like a pawn structure like this recently a few months ago against Padmini, and I was white, and it was a real question for me whether I should take on d6 or play c6, and I eventually played c6, which helped me keep my position intact. But yeah, this is definitely a question white always has in these structures, whether to maintain or just keep pushing the pawn.
To break or not to break?
Uh,
Such questions have been popular since Shakespearean times, with no answers till now.
Would you play a move like h3 here, Srinath? Would a move like that cross your mind, or you're never touching your queenside pawn? Kingside
No,
pawn?
it certainly crosses my mind because the black's king is, I think, a lot more vulnerable than white's king here. And for this reason, I think h3 would make a lot of sense. Meanwhile, a lot of people in the chat asking for Nihal's game. Let's quickly go there and have a look. Anish has taken CD. He will come in with his rook on the C file, and the chances are looking bleak for Ronak, barring a miracle in this game. The game between Kramnik and Nihal, this will be Kramnik's last game with the white pieces in regulation time. So he will look to make the most of it. And he started with his English opening, combining with the Reti system. But I think Nihal has managed to equalize it quite well.
Yes, nice setup here taken by Nihal. Can we see the opening moves a little bit for our chat to see how we reach this position, the bishop on b6?
So Kramnik started with c4, Soumya, and Nihal started with knight f6, knight c3, and after e5, it went to the Sicilian reverse pawn structure. So it went into this four knight structure, and here e4 is a move which has been quite popular in recent times. G3 is a popular variation, but Kramnik went for d3. This is not entirely popular here, but it's a subtle move. It takes away black out of his prep zone, and it also is in accordance with the pawn structure one has in the Sicilian defense and the English opening. Nihal replied with h6. It's a nice move, taking control of the g5 square, quite often preventing white from playing his bishop to g5. White continued with g3, bishop c5, bishop g2, and now short castle, rook e8, a3, threatening b4, and trying to get this bishop into the game, but mainly gaining space. Black prevents it with a5, and now white went e3. This is a very nice design for white, the pawn structure, almost like Sicilian dragon, but reverse. Nihal goes d6.
Exactly, I was wondering that Nihal has combined bishop In the dragon, white many times develops the bishop on c4, or he puts the pawn on h3 and goes for short castle. And he has actually combined both the ideas here with reversed colors.
Yeah, absolutely. And it reminds me of this one of my real life incidents. I'll just come to it. But in the game, it continued with d6, h3, bishop b6, and Kramnik kind of advancing all his pawns one by one. So he goes b3. But now Nihal decides to challenge Kramnik in the center. He moves his knight away with e7, d4, takes, pawn to c6, preparing to meet white's center control with d5, which is what happened. Rook a2 by Kramnik, developing his rook into the game from e1 to e2. D takes c4, b takes c4, bishop e6, and this is the present position that we have. White has nice control, but black is actively controlling white's control. If that makes any sense. And it reminds me of.
White has a good. No,
yeah,
please go ahead. No, I just wanted to explain that white has a good control in the center with his pawns, while black controls the center with his pieces. I think that's what the position is about.
Right. So, Sanket asking in the chat, why a5, why not a6? Because a6 wouldn't have prevented b4, but it's a different approach, and a5 is just a different approach. Bishop f1 played by Kramnik in the live position. He defends the c4 pawn. It just reminds me of my game against Maxim Matlukov from the World Rapid Championship, in 2019. And it started with one c4. I had the black pieces, and I replied with e5. Let me just recall that game. Just give me a. Yeah, so it started with c4, e5, and there was this variation with g3. And here we had prepared knight f6, bishop g2, bishop c5, which is an interesting variation. And the point is we delay the development of this knight to c6 so we can play c6 and d5. And then when my opponent played g3, I instantly went knight c6. And I was like, oh my god, what am I done? How am I ever going to get my pawns to c6 and d5? Why am I so stupid? Why do I play chess? And all these existential questions immediately coming into my mind. And then throughout the opening, I was like, how do I get c6? How do I get c6? How do I get c6? So I continued with this same development, the bishop to c5 and knight to f6. And he played e3 here, short castle, a3, a5, knight e2, d6, d4, bishop a7, all these moves are typical for this line. And then after he played short castle, I took the first chance and then I played my knight to e7. And then after b4, I got c6 and d5. Very similar position to the game. And this was like a popular story back then because I'm known for my notorious leak in my memory and how I mix things up. And Nihal just loves to make fun of it. So it's quite similar to this, how things went in this game. Nihal started with the knight on c6, then he went knight to e7, then we had c6 and d5 happening. And this is the present position that we have. Nihal just played queen d7. And Nihal is just such a nice compliment because he made exactly one move while I was telling all that story.
Yeah, he has been a perfect mentee of yours. Let me just put it that way. By the way, we have a result coming in. Anish and Ronak's match. Anish has won the match because, we left the match when Anish had a lot of pressure on black. He was rolling into the c5 as we were discussing, and that is what happened. And then he was able to get a breakthrough with b5 here. very nice move actually. It's a very beautiful move to make, and you usually solve a lot of puzzles like this, and then you don't manage to spot it in the board. But then Anish has spotted it as well in the game, and he was able to clinch the match 3-0. Wow, a very, very strong performance, dominating performance there by Anish. I think it was just not Ronak's day. He was not able to create any chances, and it could be a it could be an issue of style, or it could be an issue of just being a bad day, or it could be an issue of some sort of a psychological disadvantage from the very beginning. Maybe he was a little intimidated by Anish. We will never know. But for
Yeah,
now,
I think it was
Raunak
just not
Sadhwani
his
is out
day
of the.
mainly.
I think it was also a little bit psychological. But yeah, we will have to ask this to him on another day. For now, he's out of the CGC. A wonderful performance by him, though. He beat former world champion Vasily Tepalov in round one, and he actually came into these knockouts by qualification. So he was not one of the invited players. He made it all through the qualification rounds, and then won against Topalov to come into round two, but he's knocked out, and Anish Giri goes through to round three. Congratulations.
Yes, congratulations, Anish. And Anish OP in the chat. That was a commanding performance by Anish, by the way. A 3-0 win, a crushing win against one of India's top juniors, the juniors who have been steamrolling pretty much everyone who have been coming in their way.
Definitely. And DC on the move, on the board. I quite like Nihal's position here, Srinath. But look at both of them. They are literally mirroring each other. Look at their pose.
Yeah, they're like going like this. This is
They're
yeah.
so focused. Bishop h3
They,
is a possibility in this position. I think that's what he's considering. And why doesn't Bishop h3 work immediately? There is Rook d2 that needs to be considered. Bishop h3, Rook d2. A move like Queen g4 would run into Rook d4 as well. So Black does need to calculate whether it actually works
yeah,
or
but
not.
you can just safely go back to c8, no?
Yeah, c8 is the safest square after Rook d2.
Yeah. So what does Black have against DC5 and Bishop h3? I think it's a very important question that needs to be answered, Soumya. Sorry, what does White have against Bishop takes h3?
Sanket Joshi asks whether we exchange the queens here. Okay, he's suggesting to play queen d1 instead of bishop h3.
Okay.
But I mean, if you're getting a pawn, then I think you would definitely consider whether you can take it or not, and then move on to other options.
Yeah, and going into the endgame feels a bit iffy because White will be able to make good use of this b5, and the bishops will be stronger than knights in the endgame as well. So for both these reasons, it is risky for. I think it's a bit risky to go into the endgame, and White might not even mind trading the queens in this position and exerting pressure on the b file. This is probably Kramnik's intention after bishop takes h3.
So immediately bishop h3 or queen d7, or you want to play rook d2 first? But
Rook
then you
d2,
go
black
queen
just goes
c8.
queen c8. Yeah.
And
Meanwhile, you
then
have a poll out there on the YouTube channel chat. Do go and participate. What will be the result of the match between Kramnik and Nihal Sarin? Will Nihal win? or will Kramnik win? We'll have only two options because the match is going to see at least one winner at the end of today, and there's going to be no tie. So, sorry, Soumya, I interrupted you again.
That's completely fine. I'm also participating in the poll, and there I have voted my answer. Right now, it's 100% in one player's favor, by the way. For those of you who haven't voted yet, please go and cast your
No.
votes. Um, Bishop h3 on the board, right? Bishop h3 on the
Yeah,
board.
on the
So
board.
Kramnik is thinking. He
Nihal
has
spent
some
close
options.
to 4 minutes and 10 seconds, Soumya, for this move.
Did he miss Bishop h3 or what?
I certainly don't think he has missed Bishop h3. That would be quite unlikely
Maybe
because,
he
I mean,
missed
Queen d7.
like what is it that he missed? Because maybe he
No, I
missed
think
Queen
he's just
c7.
evaluating his chances in the endgame because how do you respond after takes and rook b2? Like, how do you defend this b7 pawn?
I mean, I can play a move like, yeah, if I play a move like rook b8, you play bishop f4. And
Yeah, exactly.
if I play rook a7, it's terrible on a7. I mean, it's just so bad and it's not worth the pawn, definitely. The other option is to play bishop c8, but then again our rook on a8 gets locked in.
Yeah, exactly. So this is probably what Nihal was thinking about, and this is the critical position, I think, after bishop takes h3.
Can we play a move like bishop g4 for rook b2?
Yeah, bishop g4, knight e5.
Knight e5, knight g6. That was the point. Then rook on e1 is not protected, so we can take advantage of that and pin the
So then,
knight.
in that case, bishop g4. By the way, this has happened in the game. Rook b2 has been played, and after bishop g4, maybe just knight goes back. Yeah.
And goes back to h2.
Yeah, this
And
could be
can
one
we
option.
play a move like knight f5 here? And we want to go in with to the bank rank, like let's say rook e1, rook e8, rook b7, and rook e1. And create some
Yeah, but I'm
threats.
not sure if that creates any threat because the f1 bishop is protected. So white can ignore it and start taking black pawns also, and the c6 pawn is very important.
So you'll
And
just
also,
keep your knight on h2 and not take the bishop on g4. You'll just keep it as a defender to your king and bishop and start picking up queenside pawns.
Yep. So, I think black has to be a bit careful. But once again, this phase of the game, until this point, they both had approximately equal time. And then Nihal spent close to 4.5 minutes to take bishop takes h3. And Kramnik, on the other hand, he spent just about 2 minutes for queen into d7. So after bishop into d7, rook b2, once again Nihal going on a long think, close to a minute. And this is exactly where I think Nihal starts getting into pressure. And this is one area where Kramnik has, I think, shown a bit of superiority over Nihal. But he plays bishop g4. So I think that maybe there's some kind of a twin core connecting you and Nihal. I'm wondering. You can get into Nihal's mind.
Me and Nihal, we both take a lot of time to play a move. That's a definite connection. I have a very nice story about Nihal, which I really want to share, but I'll share it during the break. It's going to be my next question for the. No, it's not going to be a question. I just want to share the story. It's a very sweet story, actually.
Not every. It goes into a totally different direction than what we were analyzing, Soumya. And black has to be careful because.
At this, but I thought white needed to be careful in this situation with the bishop on f3. That's why I didn't think that Kramnik would go for this.
The bishop on f3 looks nice, but only if it is able to combine with rook and create threats, which it can with rook d1. The question is, what would black do after something like rook e3? Do you just go rook d1 directly, or move away the bishop?
I wanted to save my bishop, but then what are you playing? Rook d3, yeah? You want to exchange the rooks?
No,
Let's
it
say I play
depends on
bishop
where the
g4.
bishop goes. Bishop g4, I think I'll be happy to get something like f3, you know. And once I'm, oops, rook d1 is a problem.
It's so dangerous to suggest moves with this eval bar on. It was so much better in the first. So in the first, for those of you who have just joined, in the first game of this match, we did not have the eval bar, and we were happily suggesting our own moves, and there was nobody to correct us. F3 is such a bad move. Huh? You cannot
Yeah,
give up
because of rook
the
d1.
right.
Also because of what it does to the pawn structure of white. But otherwise, if white is able to get his pieces out, like f3, king f2, like there's enough time to do that, then I felt white's extra pawn on the queen side can be more dangerous than black's on the king side, because it's easier to create a passed pawn. Meanwhile, rook e3 on the board, and Nihal has immediately played his rook to d1. So quite clear there. Bishop b2 on the board, bishop g4 also on the board, and bishop h3 is a threat. White has to go king g2, I guess.
Yeah, like bishop f6 could run into bishop h3, but even then you save your bishop. Yeah, there is no checkmate over there.
Yeah, there's no checkmate.
You
There's no
simply save
checkmate,
your
but this is a good trade to have, because this bishop will just run unopposed on the light squares.
We have a lot of Vidit fans in the chat, so who are informing us that Vidit has finished third overall in Susha chess. He did play wonderful chess in the rapid, and it seems he finished third in the blitz section as well, and overall as well. So congratulations to Vidit, fantastic performance by him.
Yes, congratulations to Vidit. And third is a pretty good performance. It ranks higher than Teimur Rajabo, who is one of the strongest players in the world. And it was a pretty strong field. So excellent bounce back from Vidit after having a pretty unexpected loss in the global championship last week. But yeah, that's, I think, one of the advantages also in today's scheduling. Even if you lose, there's already a match to look forward to.
That's true, but it can also sort of wear you down, if you are in a bad form and you're playing a lot of uh, tournaments back to back, you don't get to have a break. That is one of the, so it can be looked at both ways, but I'm really glad that Vidit has found a way to make it work out for him, and that's a very good sign.
Absolutely.
97 and bishop d4 on the board. So this is like basically equal pawns endgame, but black is black
Yeah,
has
I
a
think
knight and
black is.
bishop versus pair of bishops, but then white ka pawn structure काफी खराब है. So that is a good compensation, and if you can reach e5 with your knight, let's say, then that's a
With
good
something
sign
like
already.
f6, yeah. But the thing is, white can trade the c4 pawn for the c6 pawn, or at least white can attempt
Knight
to do
b8
that.
खेलूंगी.
Yeah,
I'll
here
just
there's
support
knight
him.
b8. True.
Looks ugly but works out. So why not?
Right. Yeah, why not indeed? But Nihal has gone for f5, and Kramnik goes bishop e2. This question should be holdable, I guess. The king comes pretty quickly to the center, and the defensive idea you pointed out, knight b8, should hold in a lot of circumstances. But once again, Nihal down to just 20 seconds, Soumya.
Oh God, Nihal's games are full of heart attack for the chat. Like, oh God, King F7.
Imagine
What
my
is he
situation.
planning?
I was with Nihal for a whole year.
What is he planning to do? Yeah, knight b8 would bishop e5, no? And he comes back knight d7. Yeah.
Yeah. Bishop
But then
e5, knight
bishop
d7.
d6. Bishop
Yeah, then you
d6.
can take on c4 because bishop c6 there will be king e6 and g7 is no longer hanging, which would
Oh
have been
my
the case with
God,
the
that's
bishop on d4.
very deep. That's a very deep idea. Wow. Kudos to Nihal for seeing this. And in such less
And
time.
now I think it's an easy defense for black because bishop d5 and knight e5. He'll just sit like that. And king f3 will probably be met by g5. Oh, king f3 is just knight e5 check.
He just has to be careful. King, let's say white gets his king to d4, then white is the one who's pressing here. So black needs to keep finding something to attack.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
it's the kind of position which Kramnik also enjoys, you know.
Absolutely. Bishop d5 check played by black, knight e5 incoming. Meanwhile, Soumya, there has been a lot of questions about your hairstyle today.
I know I was laughing reading the chat. In the beginning, I didn't even understand what are they talking about, okay, because I wasn't really looking at myself. And then I thought, "ठीक है, चलो देखते हैं." And it's true, my hair does look white today. Actually, I'm wearing a headband. It's black in color, but I don't know. It just the light reflects in such a way that it's making my hair look white. It's really funny. I was reading the chat and enjoying myself.
it
बहुत
it
ही funny
looked
comments थे कि Soumya has become very old. And ऐसे ही कुछ तो random comment बहुत मजा आ रहा था मुझे पढ़ के.
felt like you're trying to match my age and my look.
Your age, huh? You you think you're older than me, Srinath.
I look
But the
older.
headband is very nice. You know, it's actually such a deceptive thing. What जो तुमको it's very philosophical. Like whatever is obvious at first sight, it's not necessarily true. Like my hairband actually looks really nice in person, but on the camera it's looking so bad. I just realized it. So whoever's watching, they're like, "Oh my God, what a fashion disaster!" You know, I have
Yeah,
a
you
funny
could look
story
at it
about it.
philosophically, or maybe you just need to upgrade your lights and camera.
Maybe it's just like a, you know, whatever is like दिखता है जो दिखता है वैसा होता नहीं है thing and just leave it. वैसे निहाल के गेम में हो क्या रहा है? गेम चल रहा है या ड्रॉ हो गई इनकी?
नहीं गेम तो चल रहा है पर I'm not sure. H4, yeah, H4 is a good move because FG there is H3, and Kramnik is trying to create chances, but I think Nihal has it under control. FG pawn to H3, this pawn will come to G4, F takes G4, and then we have a funny situation where Black has these advanced pawns and White has these scattered passed pawns. So White is certainly creating chances, but Nihal has none of it. He's like, I'm not allowing you to bully me like this. I'll just close off the bishop. And
But I
now this
think
pawn
Nihal
can.
is also, yeah, but I think Nihal is creating chances for himself, no, Srinath. It's not just defensive. मतलब H2 H1 आ रहा है अभी. How is White going to prevent that?
Yeah, actually, it's not so easy, Soumya. You have to. It's not so easy. Suddenly, Kramnik had to find the defense there. It's a very nice trick by Nihal, devious trick. And Kramnik has found the move.
Wow,
He finds G6 and G7 just in time. And it was
wow.
probably the only move that was going to save. Now, knight G4 and knight F6, or what do you do? Nihal under pressure now. King F6, King D7. Yeah, the pawn is queening, so why not? King
Oh my
D7
God, Bishop
attacking the bishop.
E4. Bishop E4, the only move on the
Bishop
board
E4 and now
because you want
queen.
to deflect the bishop and
Queen.
make a queen. And now what next? Oh my God, this game has caught fire suddenly. What happens
Yeah,
there?
and now king b5. Yeah, king b5.
B5, queen b6 check, king
Bishop into
c4.
e5, preventing queen f3 check. Wow. And now bishop c6. Go bishop c6, I guess. Queen e2 also works. Although it
Queen
allows queen
b6?
b6 check.
Oh my god,
The
queen
king is
b6,
safe on
king c4,
a4.
queen a6 was the trap. So you want to keep the king on a4. Oh my god, what's happening? They have just 4 seconds each.
What?
Heart rate.
What was
Heart
that?
rate is going up and down. There is
Queen
no
f5 check,
on
and
the
is he
king.
winning a piece now? He's winning a piece
Oh my
now.
god.
Nihal has
How-
turned it around. And Kramnik
How
has
is
lost
winning?
on time.
Oh my god. What a turnaround! Oh my god. But this game was anybody's. After they made those two queens on the board, the game just caught fire. It could have been anybody's game. Nihal Sarin has done it. He has beaten Vladimir Kramnik. What a great achievement.
Yeah, what a great achievement. Absolutely. He just turned it around, Soumya. This was such a cool defense. Queen e2. And as you said, queen b6 check, king c4 would have blended into queen a6 check. But he played his king to a4 instead, where the king was absolutely safe. And now it was why black's turn to give these checks, king b5, queen f3. And it's really not easy to play with such less time. Bishop f4 was a dangerous move by Kramnik. Already, it felt like black might be winning something, because after queen g2, king f6, I'm not sure what happens for queen g6 check. King e7 has to be played, because king e5 there is queen f5 check, which is what happened in the game. And after king e7, I'm not entirely sure how black wins something, but it seems like black is winning some material here. But queen g4, cleverly setting up this queen f5 check trap.
King e7, he can just give check now, g7 pay. And if he goes king e6, we get queen g4 check. And if he goes king d6, we play queen f6.
Yes, absolutely. And if he goes king to e8,
if he goes king to e8, we still give a check. No, but h8 and king e7, I thought queen h4, but then he has queen f6. So bishop g6 maybe? Can we give bishop g6
yeah,
check here?
king d8 and queen d4 check. And
queen f8
no,
also looks
queen
good,
f8
no?
check. Yeah, queen f8 check is the.
So that after queen f8, so that king c7 runs into queen f4 check, and king d7 we can play bishop e8 now. King d7, bishop e8.
Yeah, it's like a puzzle.
And your king goes on actually. You can play king d8 now, but then we move the bishop to b5, give a discovered check, and win the bishop on f4. It's very pretty. Very pretty.
So,
very nice. And kudos to Nihal, yeah. Keeping his king on a4 was such a brilliant decision, because it's hard to see that a setup like that, a formation like that. But once you see it, you realize the king has no checks. There is no way to give a check while the white king is totally exposed. So it's black who has any chances in this position.
yeah, and he kind of started it, with he started it with this move knight e5, Soumya. I didn't see this coming. I was looking at only f takes g4, but he really created the chaos with knight e5. This is where the fire began. And Kramnik was forced to find the sequence with g6, g7, g8, which was again not easy. He had to start with g takes f5. Suddenly, the pawn on h2 is just running away, because the bishop on d1, d5 is controlling the h1 square, and also the g2 square, which is the approach point for white's king. And g takes f5, king takes f5, bishop c2 check, the king to e6, now g6, h2, g7, and now again king d7, preventing white from queening and threatening to queen, and also attacking the bishop, just creating this chaos. And this is the starting point of how Nihal turned this game around. He played this one super strong, and here White had to, just protect the bishop and the queen, keep them safe together. That would have ensured that White doesn't lose, because the queen and bishop cannot mate the king on its own. Like something like bishop c7 and White is safe. So this was the kind of move that White had to make.
But even a move like queen b2 comes to mind. Like if I had to make the move instantly, I don't, because I keep the bishop protected, I keep my queen protected. But and there is a chance to give a check someday, yeah, with the queen being on b2, maybe queen d4 check next. At least there are some checks that we can think of giving black. The problem
Yeah,
is with the king
exactly.
on b6 and king on a4, there is just no way to check the white king.
Yeah, so the problem was White tried to protect the king with the bishop, and this eventually runs into a check where the bishop is lost. And instead, what White had to do was to trust that the queen and bishop will protect each other, and the king can be self-sufficient. And the reason why I moved this bishop away is because this gives the e5 square for the king to run towards. So something like queen f3 check, there's king e5, queen f5, king d4, queen d5, and king e3. Whereas in some situations, like here, it can already get dangerous, because after queen f5 check, king h6, queen g6 can be checkmate in some positions, and White has to go to h4.
Queen on b2. With the queen on b2.
Yeah, exactly. So here queen g6 can be a checkmate. So White has to go king h4, but this is also okay. It also defends for White, and the bishop and queen cannot mate the king on its own. The king can keep running away. So the king needs to be part of the attack in order to checkmate the white king. The black king needs to help the queen and the bishop, and therefore the white queen and bishop, they just had to stay protected.
But it's very hard to like foresee that the bishop is going to be lost in 4 seconds, 3 seconds, 2 seconds. You know, you see your clock running out and you just play a move and it's a blunder. It's very, very easy to blunder in such positions. When there are so many checks coming your way and your pieces are unprotected and with such less time. I mean, it was hard for Kramnik to play in that time frame and find all the good moves, because he had to find all the good moves right from after knight e5. You know, Srinath, he's been like playing those only moves since then, like bishop e4, or even to play bishop c2 first when the king was on f5, so that g7 g8 comes with a check, right? So he had to
Yeah,
give bishop c2 check first, block the king, block the bishop's path to g8, you know, force the king back to e6, and then play g6, g7. All of this had to be foreseen in such less time. They were playing on seconds. Okay, he has 16 seconds here, but then we saw that he got really low on time, both of them, and Nihal was able to handle it better. Sanket Joshi says he puts it really well. Who is faster, light, sound, or Nihal in the last 10 seconds? Very nicely put there by Sanket. And it's true, Nihal is able to handle these time scrambles really well. I feel it's a matter of practice, as you put it, but it's also a matter of nerves, and it's also a matter of confidence, you know, because he's done it so many times earlier that he can do it this time as well.
absolutely. Well pointed out there, Soumya. And chat, come on. Do I need to say Nihal OP in the chat? Do hit that like button. Let's get past 150. And still one more game to go. Nihal with the white pieces. Kramnik has to win. And Kramnik's opening repertoire with black isn't exactly one which is built for the uncompromising fighting play. Kramnik is known for his Petrov, Berlin defense, Sveshnikov, very solid openings, which is very hard to defeat, but not openings that play for win. And this concept of playing, fighting with The black pieces itself was not such a common concept in the 90s and 2000s. So that's also going to be a massive challenge for Kramnik to overcome.
But yes, and also he'll be really upset, because it didn't feel as if white was going wrong anywhere in this game, and the game to turn around so suddenly and quickly like that. Uh, it does take a toll on your emotions. And
Oh
we have
yeah,
to wait and
absolutely.
watch.
And Kramnik might be feeling that what nonsense is this? This is not chess, this 10 seconds each, because it was a normal chess game and Kramnik was pushing, 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 and then in the end it got turned around in a way which was just not the thing back in the time when Kramnik was playing chess.
Yeah, this is very, very typical for all these low increment games, all these online chess games, especially. Even I really struggle with online chess because of this, because I'm not playing much online, and so when I play, my opponent just wins on time. The other day I had a mate in one position, but I lost on time, and it's frustrating. I mean, it's really frustrating to after a point you feel as if maybe the quality of your moves doesn't matter as much as the speed. You tend to feel that way, and it is definitely it is definitely something that you really need a lot of practice in, to be able to play really fast and discount the quality a little bit, because you need to save
Absolutely.
time for the end moments.
Yeah, you develop a sense automatically, you start playing these safe moves. Your piece just automatically goes towards the other pieces because you just play these safe moves. And Nihal is very good at it with just 1 second. He's very good at finding these safe moves that doesn't blend up. So in a similar situation, I think anyone can make mistakes. We see these kind of things happen in the speed chess championship in the match between Nihal and Arjun earlier. Both of them were making blunders under pressure. And even in last week, I also had a similar instance. I don't know how many people from the chat was watching it, but I had made in exactly one move, Soumya. I had 2 seconds. And my next move is mate. I had to move my queen from d7 to g7. But I just couldn't I failed once when I tried to move it, and then there was no second chance because my time ran out.
Yeah, I totally
And
understand. This exact thing happened to me. I had to play just one move and it's checkmate, but I couldn't make it. The time ran out and I was so frustrated. It was a 1 second increment game, by the way. It was not even like 3-0 flat out, but I couldn't make it in that 1 second.
but that said, Nihal, I think Nihal, he's just so good at turning things around in these last 30 seconds, last 10 seconds.
Yeah,
I have so many games where I've lost like that. I would have a better position. Nihal has seconds, and he just outplays me from there. And I have gone on tilt so many times. I've gotten angry at the whole thing, but it's also it also feels like a bit of vindication to me that it's not just me. It happens to the best players in the world, and no one can do anything against it because Nihal is simply that good.
yeah, definitely. There was a story about Nihal that I wanted to share, and I did mention that I'm going to share it in the break. So here goes. I was playing Nihal in Sitges, and I was playing him after a really long time, after a gap of 7 years, and I did not know what is his body language over the board, what are his habits over the board. So it was all a surprise to me to see him constantly in this position, then like this, then like this. I mean, he's never looking at the board. He's only looking here and there and thinking, and sometimes walking and thinking. He's literally never looking at the board. And there were times when I actually asked him, like a couple of times during the game, I thought he was talking to me because he kept on staring at me. And I thought he was saying something, but he was actually just thinking. He was in his own zone. Anyway, so this happened. And at some point, I was under time pressure and I saw him get up like really fast, go somewhere and come back. And I didn't understand what happened. After the game, I asked him, what happened there? Why did you get up? And he said, No, you were in time pressure and the door was open. There were people talking outside. I thought you must be getting disturbed. So I thought to go and close the door. That is so sweet. I mean, I couldn't think of anyone. Like, literally, I can't think of anyone who will do that, Srinath. It's so sweet to. I mean, he's obviously wanting to win the game. He obviously wants to trick me. I'm under time pressure. There is a likelihood that he can trick me, but he's still so considerate that I shouldn't make a blunder because of external environmental factors. And he actually like really helped me out there. Like that was very kind of him, and I honestly can't think of anyone else who will do that.
Absolutely. Nihal is just such a sweet kid.
He's very sweet. He's very sweet. Yeah.
Srini was saying maybe the format could have been better with 15 plus 10, but guys, there's a particular reason why I think chess.com has gone for this format because, we do want to make the best out of the time available. Like, there is tradition, but we also don't have unlimited time, and we are trying to make this. We are broadcasting this for the people watching. So I think there is an element where you also want to finish things within time. And the 15 plus 2 format, it just gives enough time so that people don't lose on time in completely lost positions. In completely winning positions, people don't lose on time, like it happened to Kramnik in the Rapid Chess Championship earlier. And I think that's also the reason why there is no blitz tiebreak, after the 4 games. If you notice that, Soumya, there's no blitz tiebreak. We go directly into an Armageddon, and it's a different Armageddon format. So I think there has been a lot of thought from chess.com in this format. And I think that's the reason why there's just a 2-second increment. And I would say we have to respect that. It's a great attempt in trying to create a new concept. It's a great attempt in trying to make the game try something different out there, basically.
Definitely, and it's just about playing a different time control, Srinath. It's like saying, oh, 1.5 hours plus 30 seconds would have been a better time control than 15 plus 10. These are just different time controls, and you adapt. Obviously, the first time you play a newer time control, you're struggling. Even in classical formats, for example, if you're put into a tournament where you have 2 hours flat out without any increment, you are going to take the first few rounds. Like you are going to take some time to adjust to this newer time control and see how much time you need for the first 20 moves. It's going to take you at least 3-4 rounds into the tournament for you to figure that out. But once you have done that, you get it, you get the hang of it. So I think 15 plus 2 is pretty cool. You have increment, as you pointed out, you have enough time to finish off a game if you're totally winning. Obviously, you need to be very good with your mouse skills, but that's something you just learn with practice and you get there.
Absolutely. Meanwhile, Soumya, in the last game, Nihal goes for his beloved London system, which is one of the favorites of Nihal, and also Magnus Carlsen, the world champion. And I remember a quote from Magnus saying that London has never failed to, it has never failed to save him or something like that. It has never failed to respond as a coach. And it's also one of Nihal's safe systems. And I think it's a good choice against Kramnik because London was really not one of the mainstream openings when Kramnik was at his peak.
I actually was thinking about our conversation where we discussed about how Kramnik's repertoire against e4 is very solid. So I was actually expecting Nihal to play e4 and see what Kramnik goes for. But perhaps he would have also gone for some modern or something more fluid. So London probably restricts his choices in that sense. It's a very good choice.
I think it's also what Nihal is familiar with and comfortable with. But that said, it's a massive challenge, playing with white in a game where a draw is enough. We have seen several games in the current Chess.com Global Championship where White was not able to make the draw. We saw how Pavel just melted against Vichy in their match in the fourth game with the white pieces. He just blended away. And there have been a lot of matches, a lot of instances where something similar has happened.
There is a very sweet comment, Ajay Raghav Joshi saying, Nihal is a gentleman. That's why I feel he should be a world champion. Exactly my thoughts, Ajay, because I feel good manners are so underappreciated. They're just so underappreciated. And when you come across someone like this, who's so well mannered on the board, off the board, it makes such a big impression on you. And you really actually want good things for this person. So yeah, definitely Nihal Sarin, OP, all the way.
Right. And I also like Srinivas's comment in the chat. Recent favorite of Magnus is Catalan. Thank you so much, Srinivas. But I think I would be.
Catalan fans, in the chat. I have seen every chat में श्रीनाथ हर chat में at least कुछ 4-5 comments तो Catalan के बारे में आते ही आते हैं. Whether you remind them or not, they remember it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Catalan is not just an opening anymore. It's a feeling, it's an emotion. And there is a clan out there called Catalan Vani. Exactly.
So Queen B3 on the board. Let's see what are the triumphs of White's position. एक तो White के पास center है, pawn D4 पे है, knight on E4 है, bishop on H2 doing a very good job, even though एकदम side पे बैठा है पर सारे board पे नजर है उनकी. D6 pawn पे pressure बनाए रखा है so that queen हटेगा नहीं D8 से, D5 से, और bishop on F1 भी अच्छी तरह placed है because right now there are not many targets in black's position, तो exactly क्या attack करना है पता नहीं, but for now bishop on f1 is really well placed. bishop d3 पे रहेगा तो भी अच्छा होगा, पर फिर knight f4 पे आके attack हो सकता है. तो white ने अपने सारे pieces ऐसे squares पे रखे हैं where they are active but not hanging. You and Padmini were discussing this in your conversation on the last day of round 1, saying that in faster time controls, it's a good idea to keep your pieces supported so that the chances of blundering them are lesser. And I thought that was a very good point. And that's exactly what Nihal is doing.
Absolutely. I remember this scene in this movie called Gladiator, where there is this little fight in the gladiator pit, and this one of the main characters, he used to be a general in the army. So one of his first dialogues is, has anyone been in the army? Then he's like, the closer we are together, the better our chance is to survive. They don't know what they're facing against. All these guys are like some different individuals, scattered individuals, but the coordination, the coming together, it just makes a massive difference, and then they decimate the opposing army. And it works really well unless opponent has a siege weapon, weapon which can take out a lot of people in one area. But in chess, we don't really have any siege weapons. It's just knights and bishops. It's a medieval army. So out here, pieces staying together and coordinating, it works. Artillery still hasn't been discovered in chess.
There is a variant of chess I once played called Dynamo Chess. उस piece का नाम ही Dynamo है, और it works like a rook and a bishop. And how the variant works is that there are extra files on each side of the board. So there is I and minus J, I. ठीक है, I and J जैसा है, तो दोनों साइड पे वो डायनामो होंगे, तो 2 dynamos for each side, and it just completely changes the game, and you can actually checkmate with a dynamo. Sorry, it's a rook and a knight, or a rook and bishop, actually I forgot. Sorry, a bishop and a knight, I think. Yeah, I think it's a bishop and a knight, so you can actually checkmate with a lone dynamo in some way. It was invented by a businessman in Kolkata, and I even had the chess set, but this was already many years ago, so I've forgotten the details of this variant, but it exists. So people are thinking about the point you mentioned, Srinath, ki chess में artillery नहीं है तो introduce करते हैं.
Meanwhile, one important thing I want to point out in this setup, in with this pawn structure of black a6 b6, in this particular system against the London, a popular concept for white is to combine the ideas with a5 and c4. So you sometimes white starts with c4 and then goes a5, or sometimes white starts with a5, b5, and then c4. And I'm just wondering if that is an option here, if a5 is strong. This is such a popular concept. It's seen in so many games in this against this system, and here it just feels so tempting. A5 and c4.
Yeah, 100%. E5 looks like a fantastic move here to break open Black's pawn structure and show him exactly why it's not a good idea to remain too passive in the middle game. I wonder what Black has in return. Like A5 killing A, so B5 doesn't look like a very good move because of C4, as you pointed out, Srinath. And then you're attacking the knight as well as the pawn. And if you go back knight C7, oh my god, you're already very sad to make this move. And secondly, you actually lose the B5 pawn. C over
Yeah,
B5 and you just take it.
but Nihal, after a long thing, goes for knight d2, and I don't like this move as much. Although it still keeps the pressure and it keeps control, but if he had a chance to go for a5, b5, c4, I think he really had to go for it. And also coming to that, Soumya, I think once again, when you're playing for a draw with the white pieces, when draw is enough, I think it's very important to have this clarity of mind that if you're playing for a draw, then ruthlessly play for a draw, kill the game with a Berlin repetition or whatever. But once the game goes on and black achieves a fighting position, then I think it's very important to just play normally. It can be very dangerous to be happy with a draw in a situation like that. And that is, I think, one of the main reasons why people play suboptimal moves in these kind of situations. And that can lead to gradual loss of control over a period of time. So I think it's very important to have that clarity of mind within oneself.
Very good point, actually. Um, have you ever played games where you needed to only make a draw?
Several games with the last round, and initial games are filled with a lot of heartbreak. It would be like I need a draw for an IM norm or GM norm, and I would end up losing almost every single time. And then there was this time when I was struggling to get to 2500 to become a grandmaster after making all the norms, and I was playing against Gabriel Sargisian, and I had black. And the final position, I'm just a piece up. There's no compensation. But out of some kind of a fear, I just offered draw, and he accepted. And after the game, I was like, why did I do that? Why on earth would I offer draw in that position? I'm just a piece up, and he had so little time. And immediately after the game, I had this interview with Daniel King. And the first question he asked me was, why aren't you still a GM? And I replied that probably because I make draws like this. And then 2 rounds later, I played against David Anton Guerrero with the black pieces. But this time I was quite clear that if I get a chance, I'll take it. And I managed to win that game.
Very nice story, Srinath. Very also it's about learning from your lessons. And as you mentioned, we have A5 and C4 on the board. So Nihal has played it just one move later. Now the knight on D5 is no more attacked because it's already moved to F4. So that's the difference. But does it make much of a difference for white, or is white anyway better?
No, I think it's an even better version for white. It's an even
Because
better version for white
why
because
did you say that?
now there's no defense on b5. At least back then we had some knight c7 or some potential attack on the e4 knight. But with the knight on d2, the f3 point is even better protected. So overall, white's position is better protected. And black has to, if black has to play bishop into f3, then queen into f3 attacks the f4 knight, and this knight on f4, which looks good, is actually not so well placed, it would turn out. So I think all these factors combined, it makes it an even better version.
It's a very deep point because you would think that the knight is better placed on f4 and it's a slightly better version for black because now the knight on d5 is no more attacked as we were discussing. But the knight on f4 only looks active. It's not doing anything because white doesn't have any weaknesses in his position that can be attacked. That is the problem for black here.
Yeah, Kramnik goes for rook b8, cb ab taken. Now white can even put the pawn on a7 if he wants to.
But rook b8 is a very nice way out for Kramnik because he wants to play actively, right? He's playing for a win in this game and he doesn't want to get into some passive defense. So he plays rook b8 with the idea that you cannot, of course, take queen b5 because f3 is hanging now, and the queen will be attacked by discovered attack. But then even if you take so queen b5 would be an absolute blunder. And a move like bishop b5 comes to mind, but even then the bishop is pinned. So you can either play bishop c6 or bishop a6, or even bishop d5 comes to mind.
Right.
But bishop d5 might not be that great because of queen a4 and you get out of the pin. So bishop a6.
But bishop a6 does the job and we need only one move to do the job.
Yeah, bishop a6 might be the best move in the position because it keeps everything attacked and white loses material. So
Nihal doesn't bother with any of this. He just goes a6, which I think makes a lot of sense because the next move is a7 and this rook has to go out from the b file and then white can take on b5. Kramnik responds with bishop a8. So he wants to keep the b5 pawn, but he doesn't mind allowing this pawn all the way to a7. But I think just play a7 and now take the b5 pawn, and bishop into a6 related stuff shouldn't work because white can usually just take it and the a pawn will be unstoppable. So this is, I think, very dangerous for black, allowing the pawn so deep.
And I think black's problem was that he couldn't even play bishop d5 instead of bishop a8. That is where we want to go with our bishop, to d5. But then white plays queen e3 and attacks our knight on f4. So this formation of pieces, it's not really doing much for black. Everything just sort of turns out to be a weakness instead of a strength.
Yeah, the London system is actually quite underestimated, Soumya. It's a very sophisticated system and something that's not easy for black to face if black is not well prepared.
That's true. I mean, I also feel like white setups are very fixed. So it's a nice setup to learn as white because you have something very solid and concrete against each of black's replies, and your moves are fixed. For the first 10 moves, you know where you're going to put your pieces, where you're going to put your pawns, and then you'll think. While black always needs to come up with something, especially if he's in a must-win situation like this one. Okay, the line you suggested is on the board, Srinath. Nihal seems to have a massive advantage now because he's not only a pawn up, his other pawn has reached a7. It's one square away from queening. So he's putting a lot of pressure on black. There are literally no weaknesses in his position. The only problem is he has to look out for some knight g2 sacrifices, but I don't think they are working out, at least not right now.
Yeah, at least not right now. Although again, in a situation where you're in you're safe with a draw, you kind of want to. You can sometimes be a bit worried about such kind of threats, but on the other hand, Soumya, this pawn on e7 literally neutralizes this bishop on e8, and you can do anything. This bishop on e8 is not. It's a beautiful bishop, very potent bishop, but it's not able to. It's like the bishop's arm is tied. It has a very strong upper body strength, but the arms are tied, and therefore it can't really move. So the strength is taken out.
Right. Um, uh, there is a comment in the chat which I really like, and I think it does make a lot of sense. Harry Potter, Harry Potter thinks that I think legends don't prepare much for these games and go purely by experience and intuition. It is a good point. I also feel the same way. What do you think, Srinath?
Uh, it's it. I think if they have time, they will certainly prepare. Soumya, at the very least, you want to know your opponent, even if you're not doing a lot of opening preparation. You want to try and understand your opponent's tendencies, what they're capable of. But I think the time you have is a big factor in these days where people are playing like 2 tournaments a day. Then it's impossible for any person to be always prepared unless you have a team like the world champion where the team is working behind the scenes all the time and giving you that information. But uh, uh, but yeah, I'm pretty sure there are people who prepare and there are people who don't prepare as much. It's largely an individual thing.
I think the preparation is more like, okay, what does my opponent do? What are the options he usually goes for, rather than checking some variations. I think that is uh, the main way that the main approach that I feel many
Yeah.
players take. While the youngsters probably actually, decide what exactly they are going to do for each of their opponent's choices. I remember Ronak explaining to us that against Topilov, he expected him to play English in the fourth game, and he had prepared this move G5, and he thought it was the best reply in that position. So he was actually really well prepared, and I think that's those are the different approaches that players take in these tournaments.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are always things, and I also do know of certain players who make some pretty elaborate plans, what they want to do in the first game, what they want to do in the third game. It all depends on the approach. Meanwhile, I see people hyped up for the Arjun Magnus final, and I'm also hyped up. People are asking me if I'm going to be live. I won't be live, but I'll certainly be watching the action. This time I'll be the chat and try to win my diamond memberships.
That's wonderful. And Srinath, I wanted to ask you one more thing that Magnus actually mentioned that Arjun is one of the top 10 rapid players in the world right now. And it really made me wonder, do you think all these youngsters like Nihal, Arjun, they are already in top 10 in the world when it comes to, especially when it comes to faster time controls and online chess?
Uh, I think it depends. In recent times, Arjun and Prag have certainly stood out, Soumya, in rapid chess. And these two these two very talented juniors, I think they are already right up there in the top 10. Nihal's performances have been quite impressive, but it hasn't been on the same level of consistency, the same scale of consistency in rapid. Whereas in Blitz, I think he's already certainly up there. But in terms of rapid, he didn't have a very impressive World Rapid Championship last year, and he hasn't yet played in any of the CCT events. So I think he still needs to gain a bit of ground to get into the top 10, but he's certainly getting up there. Gukesh has mainly been focusing on classical chess in recent times, so he's not figuring out in a lot of these rapid and blitz discussions. But yeah, I think Arjun and Prag, they have been certainly a bit. I think Prag has been way ahead of everyone else. His performances, his consistent performances in the Champion Chess Tour has been super impressive, and Arjun has been also very consistent. He has, especially after this tournament, I think he's also getting close up there. Although he probably has to do it in one of the major events as well. And I think these two players are right up there.
Yeah, that's very well put, Shri. Can we ask a question for the diamond membership? Do you think, Srinath, is it a good time? Or do we want
Uh,
more likes? Maybe 180 likes and we can ask for a diamond membership, no?
no, actually, I think we can. There are 256 people watching right now, and we have just 167. So let's get it over 200 chat, and then we have the next diamond membership giveaway. So 200 likes. Let's get it going. Come on, and we are also close
Knight
towards.
G2. Also, this game is going crazy once again. There is knight G2 on the board. We discussed this like few seconds ago that there white only needs to be careful about any kind of knight G2 tactics, and there we have it. What's happening? Knight B6, queen B6. So let's count the material. White is an exchange up, but right now white cannot take on E8 because the queen on B3 is hanging. So the rook on E8 is actually sort of protected. The knight on G2 is beautiful, but now it's gone after knight E1 and rook E1. So the material is equal. A7 pawn is not hanging because then the rook on E8 again hangs. Queen B7 could be an idea, and white can counter it with, white can defend with F3, I guess, or D5. Wow, D5
Yeah,
is
I
nice.
like D5 a bit more. Just shut it at the beginning. And Soumya, this position is so dominant for white that even something like Queen F3 might work.
Queen F3. Oh wow, with the
Yeah.
idea to attack F7. But Queen B5, Queen F7, King H8.
Yeah, that is the sad part of this combination. It doesn't work. The E8 rook is protected.
But you still go on, right? Knight E6.
Yeah, but it gets a bit unnecessarily complex, yeah. And this is already losing because of Queen G5 check or what?
No, G5 is, oh my god, Queen G5 is beautiful. Knight G5 and Rook E1 checkmate.
Yeah, but white still has
We have
Bishop
Bishop
G3.
G3. Right, we have Bishop G3 and then the Queen on G5 as well as the Rook on E8 are hanging.
Yeah, but there's something here. But the game has continued with Rook E1, and now Black has played Knight to H4. Meanwhile, we are over 200 likes, Soumya. So do you have the
I'll
diamond?
ask a diamond membership question. I really want to ask this question. It's not related to the matches, but the chat is all about it. So I want to ask this question from my end, or just go be, it's obviously going to be a lucky draw. Guys, do you think this is my real hair or it's a wig, or what do you think, guys? Because I see the chat is all about it and I'm getting so conscious now. I just want to ask the chat once and for all, उनका opinion क्या है?
Is Soumya's hair real? Is the question, chat. So I think it's a yes or no question.
Is
And
it really white? Is the question, I think.
meanwhile, D5 played by Nihal, a crushing move.
Just now, someone, I think Shashidharan said, awesome commentary, Srinath and Soumya. And with this question, he has definitely changed his opinion.
I was also thinking the same.
D5
Yeah.
has been played, and Queen But he did not play queen b7, right?
No, he just went knight h4 and now d5 has been played. A crushing move, like something like bishop into d5 will be met by queen into d5.
Yeah.
And otherwise, white is just crashing with d takes e6. Bishop into e8 will be taken if black moves out of this b file. Like queen into a7 will be met with bishop into e8. And yeah, this is the position right now. Kramnik thinking, but I think it's only a question of how long he survives before resigning.
Yeah, this is very tough for white suddenly, for black suddenly. I mean, the only move that I
Oh
can
my
think of
god,
playing here is e5.
chat has gone. I've never seen the chat so active in the history of chess.com India. Not during the candidates, not when Ding won, not when Nihal won the first match, not when I've never seen the chat so active.
I'm telling you, the chat was all about it. I'm sure everyone was thinking about it. So finally, they got a chance to give their opinion, and they're like, "Yes, let's go for it." Um,
The chat
yeah.
has got its release.
Yeah. I'm very tempted to give the diamond membership away for everyone who said it's my real hair. Like, oh my god. Oh my god. Just imagine if this was really my real hair, then how much effort I must be putting in every day to make it look black. Um,
Yeah. Meanwhile, the queens are off the board, Soumya,
yeah.
and now just bishop g3 might be important, not to
See,
allow
how
some
did we get
h6.
the queens of the board? So what did Kramnik play for d5? I thought e5 was literally the only move on the board.
d5 he played queen e5,
Queen a5. And
attacking
the
the rook.
one rook is attacked, so it needs to move.
Yeah, and now bishop
Uh,
takes d5, attacking the queen. Queen a4 was played. The queens got traded. Rook a8, and now rook c1, important move. Rook into a7, there's rook c8 checkmate. So h6, rook c7, defending that a7 pawn, and h takes g5, bishop d6, knight f3 check, king f1. This was important by Nihal. He had to keep this a7 pawn alive, and he did that. And this was, I think, very, very important. If he hadn't done that, things could have turned around. But now it's just a simple question of taking this bishop out of the game and then putting our own bishop on c6, or just push the b pawn all the way to b7. Third option, trade the light square bishops and then push your pawn all the way to b7. Fourth option, get the rook to b8 and then uh, promote the a pawn. Nihal has options, and he can choose anything. Oh, there's a final mating net to watch out for. Rook d6 takes care of that. And he
oh,
doesn't even mind a draw. 2.5, 1.5, it's going to be.
he's offered a draw?
No, but they're repeating. They're repeating, and
They're
Kramnik will take it, I think.
yeah.
And with that, Nihal has moved into the round of 16. What a convincing victory by Nihal. And he's just one win away from booking his spot in Toronto, the quarterfinal, the part of the Chess.com Global Chess Championship, which will happen live in person in Toronto on November 2. And Nihal has moved into the round of 16. He's what a spectacular performance. Chat, let's take a break from what is going on and Nihal OP in the chat. What a performance. And in the end, also a bit of sign of respect from Nihal, no, to make this repetition. It's almost like the third game I swindled. So fourth game, it's kind of deserving that we make a draw. And 2.5, 1.5 sounds fair.
Definitely. I also felt the same way, as if, he just wanted to show respect and be okay with the draw here. That's a very good gesture there by Nihal Sarin, and fantastic result for him to beat Vladimir Kramnik. It must have given him so much confidence, and he's played so well in this match, even in this game, which, he only needed a draw in this game, but he was completely in command. And of course, the third game was a battle of nerves, and Nihal came out on top. So huge respect to Nihal Sarin for having won this encounter against a legend like Vladimir Kramnik and moving on to the round of 16. And of course, it was wonderful to watch Kramnik play in this tournament after a really long time. We got to watch him play, and he fought so well. And we've been mentioning this again and again in the commentary that uh, Kramnik doesn't play online as much. So for him to simply agree to play here and then to manage his time so well, he was managing his time really well in all his games in this tournament. It's just that today he faced Nihal, and Nihal was one up in the time scramble. So huge respect for Kramnik as well for simply playing this tournament and letting us enjoy his games. Um, and with that, I think it's a wrap, or are we expecting Nihal to
We
join?
are expecting Nihal to join, but chat, by the time he joins, let's get those likes. Oh, he's already joined. Wow. It's like bullet real life. We have
Yeah.
Nihal, the winner of the round of 32, the match, the most anticipated match against Vladimir Kramnik. Congratulations, Nihal.
Thank you.
Was
Fantastic.
it
Congratulations, and chat is also sending you a lot of hearts and congratulations.
Thank you.
Nihal, we all saw what happened in the game today. They were fantastic and a really nice one in the really nice London system in the end. But what happened before the match? Were you able to make it comfortably to the match in time? Did you have to travel just the night before? What happened?
Okay, it was very hectic. So the Spanish league just ended yesterday, and we just left today morning and sort of.
So you had to travel. When did you have to wake up today?
At 8.
Wow. Wow. So for context, chat, 8 is like the kind of time Nihal used to go to sleep at during the lockdown. And today he had to wake up at 8 to make it to the match this time. That's the dedication for chess and this match. And then you had to travel all the way from you had to travel and then play this game right away, yeah?
Yeah, sort of.
And now you have to go and play over the board, right?
Yes, in an hour.
Oh, the round starts today. The game that you have a round right now in an hour.
Oh, there is rapid. Classical is
There
over.
is rapid. Okay, and do you know whom you are playing? Is the pairing out?
No, it's like leagues. So I think at the start it would be some not so strong teams.
Okay, it's a Swiss league.
Yeah.
That's very nice. Your match was obviously incredible to watch, especially the third game. We had our heart in our mouth. I mean, we were just, me and Srinath, we were just commentating on it. Yeah, now it's a draw. Now they'll agree for a draw. And suddenly we saw your pawn rolling. And Kramnik also found all these moves, bishop e4, everything,
Yeah.
78.
I thought I was winning after I did him with this. I thought he missed 95. Probably he did.
Right, knight e5, yeah?
Yeah. Like h3, g4, knight e5. Then I thought I was winning, but then he found this brilliant defense. It's actually a draw objectively.
Right.
On a4, the king on a4 was a wonderful, found a wonderful shelter over there with no checks at all.
King. Yeah. It was sort of coincidental. But...
Oh, did you see it earlier, or it just was the only move? So you went there and then you sort of.
It was just the only move. Then I realized I'm not getting
it. Right.
Actually, the first game
that was brilliant.
I wanted to show one line in the first game. I was spending a lot of time at one point. Yeah.
Right. Just bringing it up. And yeah. At which point?
So when I played queen c8, I think, which is probably a good move.
Yeah, right.
So I was looking at this idea of queen h3, bishop g2, and now there is this move knight d4.
After queen c8,
Instead of queen c8, queen h3,
okay, got it. Mhm.
bishop g2, knight d4.
Wow.
And it's brilliant, but it doesn't quite work, I think. Or okay, I was looking at this position. So white has to take the bishop. Then
Bishop b7 now.
yeah,
Oh
knight
my
e2,
god.
king h1, rook e3. For example, take bg2, queen h6, fe3, knight g3, and this 3 pawns versus piece. I was not sure how to roll it.
Wow, you calculated so much during, but you can. Okay, yeah, this is not clear. True, it's actually not clear
Why is
because
it
black can't bail out. Because black cannot bail out. Knight e2 check. There's king f2, and black has to, like in that case, if black has to go here, then in some cases this bishop can be stronger than the 3 pawns. So
Yes.
if
I was also not sure if he had to take on e3, like if he could do some in between moves. I don't know what to do. Something like queen f5.
right,
This is a beautiful combination that you spotted. The fact that white cannot take on e3 instead of bishop g2,
No, white can, yeah.
but then you go rook h6, no? Or you
Sorry.
also go knight h3, sorry. Like
Which
in
position?
that position.
yeah, which position?
Sorry.
Knight d4, bishop b7, knight d2, king h1, rook e3.
Pawn
Yeah.
e2. And here you have options, right? Like rook h6 as well as knight g3. I guess knight g3 is...
No, rook h6 cannot be played. Rook d8 is there.
Oh, rook d8 is checkmate. So you have to be careful.
But anyway,
knight g3?
yeah. No, knight g3. Yeah, white surely shouldn't. Like, white should definitely take on d6 first. It's very risky.
Right.
And this is going out of hand.
Hmm.
But this is a very nice combination.
Yeah, I was really trying hard to make this work, but I couldn't.
So that explains so much why you are spending so much time here.
Spend around like 5
And
6 minutes.
Yeah. Almost 6 minutes. And chat, if you are wondering what goes on in Nihal's head during those long moments of thought, this is exactly what is going on. And there are just so many such lines which Nihal comes up with during the game. He also had a long moment.
So he thinks more than others.
Yeah, he comes up with variations like this, and then his opponent basically plays on the very second, his opponents don't see as much. So on the very second move, they deviate from what Nihal has been thinking. And that's where most of the time goes away.
Yeah.
It's Nihal, your next matchup could potentially be against Ding Legion. I'm not sure if we have confirmation. Ding is playing against Esipenko right now in this match, and they were tied at 1.5 when we last checked. But what are your thoughts against Ding Legion as an opponent?
Is that the final?
I mean, it's not the final, but it will be the final for the quarterfinal, the last online match before the. And if you win that, you go to Toronto.
Okay. I mean, final of the pool, yes?
Yeah, the final of the pool.
Okay. Yeah.
So what are your thoughts about that matchup?
It will be very interesting. It will be just a great experience for me. Yeah, I'll try to do my best.
And how do you rate your chances in a match format like this against a player of such strength?
I'm not very experienced in rapid matches, but generally I do like match format, so I don't have to do anything crazy. I can just play my normal game. It's just much more important not to lose.
Right. And also, on that note, this is a rapid event, but the increment is only 2 seconds. So, in a sense, it's like a combination of rapid and blitz. It is rapid time control with blitz increment. So, how has the experience been so far playing with that?
No, it's great. I think it's really helping that there is only 2 seconds increment. So
I and Soumya were talking about this earlier, and Soumya thought the increment would help, but I was like, it might not necessarily help because Nihal is going to be the first one going to below 1 minute in most of the games. But it's nice to know the verdict on that.
yeah,
No, actually, we are in awe of your nerves in time scrambles, Nihal. Like every match, even against Mamedov and in today's match as well. Like you were able to find all these good moves within 10 seconds.
yeah, like it's sort of fortunate because position was not like insanely complicated, and it was sort of only moves. So
Right. And chat, Soumya, do you have any more questions before we let Nihal go?
I think we should definitely congratulate him and let him take some rest because he has a game coming up in less than an hour. But chat had a lot of hearts and a lot of good wishes for you, Nihal. So we wish you the best for your game in the Spanish League as well as your game in the round of 16.
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Nihal.
Thank you.
And we will let you go with that. And chat, that was Nihal's amazing match against Vladimir Kramnik, the one we had been looking forward to from the beginning. And Nihal comes out on top with that one. And Nihal will play the winner of the match between Andriy Esipenko and world number 2, Ding Lijian, which is going on right now. And usually in a matchup like this, Ding would be an overwhelming favorite because he does outrate Esipenko by 150 points. But there are two factors mitigating that. First of all, it's an Armageddon where Esipenko started off with 15 minutes and Ding started off with just about 9 minutes or so. And secondly, Esipenko has chosen to start with the Catalan opening. So I'm not even sure who's the favorite anymore after that.
Yeah,
But yeah,
definitely. And chat also wanted to know the winner of the diamond membership question, the last question of the day that we asked. It was just a fun question, and I'm choosing the winners completely randomly. So yeah, of course it's a hairband, guys. क्या है आप मुझे 2 साल से देख रहे हो मतलब हद हो गई and the winners for the question are Nitesh Jain, who says light is unreal. So this is completely random. And T Zone Music, no hairband. Sorry, I didn't understand this answer, but I'm still going to give you a diamond membership to simply participate in the chat. It was a lot of fun. काफी fun answers आए chat में. But thanks a lot for sticking with us. And it was a great match by Nihal. We enjoyed his play. Also, great fight put up by Ronak. It was not his day, but definitely playing against Anish must have added a lot of value to his game and a good experience for him there. Anish, congratulations to Anish as well for going ahead to the round of 16. And we'll be following Nihal's match. And of course, before that, we have Arjun's match as well in round 2. So do join us for that match. We'll announce the date soon. Thank you so much, chat, for sticking with us. और आज बहुत मजा आया. We are really happy कि आपने इतना participate किया, and do check out in the comments because there is still one diamond membership that needs to be given away for the. We will mention the winners in the comments to this stream. So do check it out. Bye bye.